Metro in the Eastern Cape. How are you doing tonight? Welcome back to the program. We got some news to talk about South Africa. But before we get into that, I've been dying to do this forever, and apparently you can do this without a copyright claim. So let's see what happens here. Hopefully we won't get spanked for this, but I wanted to do this for a while.
Es war einmal in einem kleinen Städtchen, da lebte ein Mädchen namens Barbara. Und diese Barbara war im ganzen Land für ihren abartig guten Rhabarberkuchen bekannt. Ja, man konnte sagen, dass Barbaras Rhabarberkuchen ohne Wenn und Aber gar eine geradezu magische Erfahrung war. Abracadabra, ja, dieser Kuchen war geradezu bombastisch. Und die Nachfrage danach erstarkte drastisch. Barbara eröffnete noch im selben Jahr eine Bar und nannte sie Barbaras Rhabarber.
Barbara öffnete noch im selben Jahr. Rhubarb Barbara, man, that's those guys, Bodo and his buddy, are just too funny. Welcome back to the program, folks. Good evening. Yeah, so yeah, I've been wanting to do that for a while. I don't do the dance moves. That's the TikTok sensation, of course. Rhubarb Barbara's Rhubarb Bar, featuring that was Bodo Vodka and featuring Marty Fisher, and they're brilliant. They've done a second version of it now, which is pretty darn cool as well. So somehow we look different tonight. What's going on here? The lights seem a little bit off. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the program. We're going to get to some news here shortly. But breaking news, Malawi's vice president and 9 others are missing. Their plane has gone missing. Very scary situation. A military aircraft carrying Malawi's vice president, Saulos Chilema, has been reported missing after it failed to make a landing this morning. All efforts by aviation authorities to make contact since it went off radar have failed. The 51-year-old was aboard a Malawi Defense Force aircraft that left Lilongwe at 9:17 in the morning. Search and rescue operations are ongoing. President Lazarus Chakwera has ordered regional and national forces to conduct an immediate search and rescue operation. Wow. Now, in 2022, the vice president had been stripped of his powers when he was arrested and charged with graft over bribery scandal involving a British Malawian businessman. Last month, the court dropped the charges after he attended several court appearances. 9 people missing. I'm not sure what military aircraft that is. Malawi doesn't have much in the way of military aircraft. I used to train those forces, the MDF, and I'm not really sure what aircraft that is. But he is lost, and probably not a good outcome there. So sad news to hear that. Meanwhile, the breaking news in South Africa is the MK party under was it under Jabulani Khumalo or is it under Jacob Zuma? The MK party has spilled the beans, ladies and gentlemen. Supposedly the swearing in of Parliament was going to be on Monday, which would have been the date for the... bless it, this thing is really not cooperating today, so let me get this back a little further. I didn't quite find the right spot here. There we go. So that was supposed to be on Monday, and that's a public holiday. So turns out now that what's happening is, which was probably known by authorities but not released publicly, is that the swearing in of Parliament will be on Friday. The vote for president will be Friday. So the pressure is on now to form a government of some sort, a government of national unity, a coalition by Thursday night. It is now Monday night, at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, 3 nights, 72 hours for South Africa to come up with a government. 72 hours to come up with a government. They've got their work cut out for them. Things not look so good here. You may have caught my interview earlier with Major General Bantu Holomisa talking about this particular problem or situation. Yeah, so they don't have a lot of time to form this government. They will be voting for president on Friday. And of course, the ANC will probably be stubborn and nominate the man who cost their party 17% and 71 representatives. That, of course, none other than Cyril Ramaphosa. Munir Palapala, the man likes to hide money in his furniture at his game ranch. Money that's illicitly brought into the country, yet he's not charged for that. Currency violations, customs immigrations violations. Anyway, so Munir Palapala will likely be their candidate, would be my guess. But the smart money would be for the ANC, the DA, and the Inkatha Freedom Party to team up in a coalition, not a government of national unity, but a coalition, be the majority. Let MK and EFF be the official opposition, and then start your government that way. Now, the MK party doesn't seem to understand how South Africa's government works, despite the fact that they have a former president in their midst, and many members of his entourage and close circle are part of that government. But MK, Mkhonto Wesizwe, seems to be clueless about how things work. We will not sit in parliament, and then they will not be able to have a quorum, and they can't conduct. Actually, if you read the Constitution clearly, it specifically states that you only have to have like a 1/3 president to form a quorum. So that's 134 members of parliament are all that are needed. Minus MK, we're still talking about 342 members of parliament. If you take them off, then you take off the EFF if they get into a little spat and say that they don't want to participate. The EFF is off the list. Then you go down another 39. You still have over 300 members of parliament, more than double what you need to hold a quorum. And therefore, there will be a president nominated. Whether there's one elected on Friday, we'll see. And then, of course, they have to go forward from there and have the inauguration. The inauguration is scheduled for the 22nd. So that is what? So that's going to leave a little bit of time here. So Friday would be what, the 13th? Oh, it's Friday the 13th? No, 14th. Friday the 14th. And then it's on the 22nd, a week later, that inauguration takes place. Anyway, this is pretty crazy. Things are really getting chippy here in South Africa, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're all well out there. Let me get over here so I can see the chat a little bit better. Garrett says, Chris for president. Thank you very much. Aaron, good evening to you. By the way, tomorrow, folks, I'll be appearing on the Conscious Caracals program, Aaron's Fun Sale, but it will not be at 7 p.m. It will be at 8 p.m., so my apologies for that. It just came up on my feed. I love that Conscious Caracal. I always get notifications of his streams. But it came up, and it's at 8 because I land at King Shaka in Durban. It's 5:30. I have to get to the hotel. It's a 30-minute drive. I'm planning at 6:30 for meet and greet. That gives me time for the meet and greet at the hotel. And by the way, I've invited Kara Charo. Don't know if he'll be able to make it, but I've asked him to come to the meet and greet. So for all the viewers who are in Durban or Amanzimtoti in that area that want to come to a meet and greet, it'll be tomorrow. And I've sent that flyer out. That's at the Sun Resort there, just near the Moses Madiba Stadium and the Kings Park. So just right across from that where the casino's at. I'll be staying there overnight. So I'll be there tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, I'll be driving up to Howick. I'll be staying overnight in Howick. So there you have it. So yeah. So, that's what I need to do. That reminds me, I have not written to someone I need to write to. Wow. So I need to write to see if I can't get Mayor with a meeting with Mayor Pappas when I'm up there. So post-election. But anyway, yeah. So let me get to my channel and get my chat up so I can see it a little bit better, because on this phone it's very tiny. That's why I put the glasses on. It's so hard to see it, even if you don't have challenges here. I just cannot seem to get to 16,500 viewers. Been stuck at 16,499. And either the interest in the election is waning or the suppression of my channel is back, because my last 3 videos, none of them reached 1,000 views, my prepared videos, and my live streams have gone from 24,000 live stream viewers down to 1,600. So the last, each one has gone down. So I did the AfriForum with Aaron's Fun Sale at 6,400, then 4,000 the Malema, then 2,900, then 1,600, and here we are today with this one. So we'll see how this one goes. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Doesn't cost you anything but a moment of your time, and I really, honestly, do appreciate your time and effort. So I'll give you a wrap up of what happened today. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk more about the political situation going on in South Africa here in just a moment. I'm waiting for the chat to load, and it's not doing that. There we go. Finally got the chat over here. So I don't want the top chat. I want live chat. By the way, if you're watching YouTube and you're not seeing people's comments, if you haven't blocked them yourself, go over to the right side of the screen, and there's a chat button that says top chat. Well, that's for channels that have very busy chat rate. So those are the people who chat frequently. So what you do is you click on that, and you can get live chat, and you can see what everybody's saying. And we don't have enough viewers watching right now to actually push that any faster. So yeah, so let me go back and say hello to everybody here. So we've got Freelance Kate, Marika Hildebrand, Pierre Bosch, in here in Doha. Hey, Pierre. Elton Johnson, Salem's Cave. Dylan Combrick, welcome Dylan. Keith Alderson, Val Cooper, Mealy Maid. What's the beans? What's the beans? Okay. Oh, the beans. The beans that have been spilled by MK are that it wasn't public information that the swearing-in would take place this Friday, and Jabulani Kumala has put out that they're going to be sworn in. This dispute within inside the MK party. People are saying that he's not representing the party, but he's number one on their list, and he's going to Parliament, will be sworn in. But I've also heard secondhand, and I have to verify this, that the government officials, because MK's Jacob Zuma claimed that they weren't going to sit in Parliament for that first sitting, that apparently they've canceled all their flights. Don't know if it's true, but I've been told that, and I'll try to follow up on it. But if in fact that's true, they're going to have to scramble or pay for their own flights to get to Cape Town rather than the taxpayer paying for it because of Jacob Zuma's arrogance. So once again, Jacob Zuma gumming up the works potentially there. So that's the beans, Mealy Maid. The beans are that MK spilled the beans and told the public through Jabulani Kumalo that the swearing-in will take place on Friday, the 14th of June. It was scheduled for the 17th. So that's, I think even maybe some people who have been elected to Parliament who have to get to Cape Town may not have been fully aware of that when that was spilled. Subsequently, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo announced that, in fact, that will take place on Friday. Jean Renel, South Africa's on fire in cricket World Cups, 3 from 3. Did they win the cricket World Cup, the T20? I thought the Americans were going to win it. Yes, Freelance Kate says, please remember to like the video, costs you nothing. Good evening, Ernst. Garrett Gillich is here. Jan Fidon, just another ANC power play will lead to ANC having total control. Okay. Dylan says, thanks for fixing our streets. I'll talk about that in a little bit here. Renzo Tomasi, let's hope no Ramaphosa. Who's the lesser evil? Well, the best choice isn't a lesser evil. It's actually a good candidate in my book. The best choice in my book, which would solve a lot of problems. And I've said this several times, and for some of you who haven't been in the chat for a while or in the program, let me just lay this out. I suggested this as one of my 4 coalitions, but this was a grand alliance with the multi-party charter. But the multi-party charter is really an agreement to get rid of the ANC. It didn't work. So those parties are free to leave the charter and do what they want. But nonetheless, all those parties, I think, would be wise to go with the DA, all of them, and form an alliance, a coalition with the African National Congress. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So when the election results came out, and I could see that the credible parties, as far as percentage of vote, were going to be ANC. They're not credible. I'm talking percentage of vote. ANC, DA, MK, IFP, and that's pretty much it. The PA you could throw in there as well if you like. But that's it. Everyone else is below 2% beyond that. Action SA, Freedom Front Plus, and then Bosa and all these other guys. So what I suggested when the results began to come in, I could see that the IFP was going to do well. Not excellent, but well. Then my recommendation was a coalition based on that outcome, which I left that open for as an analyst to say, when the facts change, I can change my analysis. Well, the facts change. And the IFP had a credible showing, and the ANC had a terrible showing, which is what I predicted in November of 2021, 38 to 42%. So based on that, the ANC doesn't have enough to form a government. The smart money would be for the ANC, the DA, and the IFP to form a coalition. Then for the ANC and the IFP, or excuse me, ANC and DA not to put forward a candidate. Be humble, accept the fact that neither of you are popular enough to be the majority party in this country, the DA or the ANC, and allow Velenkosini Chlabisa to be nominated as president. He would serve as president as the IFP and would serve as president of the Republic. And they have enough votes between the 3 of those parties that he would be elected, hands down. That gives them 64%, 66% of the vote. So he would win hands down. And that's an easy solution. We don't have to worry about a hung parliament. We don't have to worry about multiple rounds of voting. Problem solved. ANC, DA, IFP vote for Chlabisa, and you have a new president. And a good choice, quite frankly. And now he's also a Zulu, so that should salve some of the wounds for the bum-hurt MK voters who are expecting Jacob Zuma to be the president. Of course, he can't be the president because he can't serve in parliament, and your president comes from amongst members of parliament. So there you have it. Why is it seems dark in here tonight? I thought I had all the lights turned on. Maybe I don't have all the lights turned on. Anyway, all right, so let me get back to the chat. I think I answered that question. Did you buy a Bulls ticket for Leinster or watching on TV? Jean-Marie, I'll be present. I have press credentials, but I have not bought a ticket yet. I will buy a Bulls ticket, but I have not done it yet. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning or tonight. But yes, I'll be at the game. I have press credentials, so there you go. Yep, our Newsroom Africa channel. Let me get that. Okay, Brian Lawrenson's here. Why are they deciding on a coalition? Or what are they deciding? Well, they have to work out power sharing agreements. Coalition has to, you get this ministry, you get this responsibility. We are not going to pursue this legislation. We will pursue this legislation. We'll work together in this. This is where we can't negotiate. So that happens in a coalition. Look, folks, this is second nature, old hand to Europe. And I lived in Europe for a fair portion of my life. So I've seen this stuff up close and personal. Halleck's an awesome place to stay, beautiful air. Well, Vanna, it is, but it's also a bit out of the way. But I'm going there to see John Tungay and his wife, Paula. John is, of course, the founder of the Drakensberg Choir School, Drakensberg Boys Choir. And then also later in life, much later in life, he founded in Howick the Drakendale School, the choir school, which is initially for girls, but now it's unisex. It's for both genders. All right. So Gray says they're all communists. Yep, that's true. Zanu Labaskaki, do you know any of the inside scoops? Any untold secrets happen between parties? Well, Zanu Labaskakni, the problem with that is that, yes, I know a few things based on talking to a few people, but some things are in confidence, so you can't share those things. And also, things change by the minute. I mean, what someone told me this morning may not be true now. It may have been true at the time. So we can speculate all we want, but what I can tell you is that these are intense negotiations and the clock is ticking. The ANC doesn't have much time now because the vote is now on Friday. People in Parliament will be seated in Parliament, and I don't know if it's Cape Town International Convention Center or City Hall, but probably City Hall. They'll be there, but City Hall can't hold all 400 of them, so they have to go to a place where they can do all 400. Because remember, in 2019, we still had a Parliament. It was before the ANC's incompetent security forces allowed the Parliament to be burned down. Remember that? I remember that. Idiots. So before the parliament was burned down, they held this inauguration, or not inauguration, the swearing in the parliament building. But you can't do that now. And the city hall is not large enough. So if they're going to do one location, the only place big enough that I can think of that's nearby would be the Cape Town International Convention Center. Not sure. I was invited to the swearing in. Ronaldo Gros, who is a ward councillor here in the second ward in Gebera, Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, invited me to go to the inauguration, but then we couldn't do that. They invited me to the swearing in, but that was on the premise that it was Monday or Tuesday next week. It's actually Friday, so I will not be able to attend. It's kind of a bummer, but to be honest, I mean, I really only want to see Ronaldo. The problem, if I went to the swearing in, I probably would never be allowed to come back to South Africa because I probably couldn't help myself. I'd be up there in the cheap seats, the bleachers, and they'd be swearing in, and they'd swear in, and they call out names like for the ANC, boo, boo. I'd be PNG'd out of the country. Yeah, so yeah, Zano, there are lots of inside stories. Lots of people claim they have the inside scoop, but as a genuine journalist and an analyst, I'm going to be reticent to share that stuff because it changes, and it's just it becomes rank speculation. So let's avoid that. But thank you for asking. Amelie Maid has put up the blue bulls. There you go. I like that blue bull. That's brilliant. We do that by educating socialists. ANC and DA and IFP hold 65, just 1%. No, actually, they need 67%. So you need 2/3. So 66 is not 2/3. You got 66 plus 1, so you need really 67%. But yes, they're under that. And I've pointed that out. Thank you for underline, whatever your username is. Leon is here. Welcome, Leon. And my chat just jumped. Let me catch back up on the chat. Durban is chilly tonight. Okay, Marika, are you coming to the meet and greet tomorrow? Please come. I'm hoping to have I've not had a big meet and greet yet. I'm hoping people come. I made a trip here to Nelson Mandela Bay specifically to meet folks, and we had a great meet and greet at Tapas last night. Unfortunately, a lot of the regulars couldn't make it. Ants was unable to make it, as well as Citizen Guardian was unable to make it, and then someone else was unable to make it. But we did have a good meet and greet. Hopefully, people show up in Durban. But yeah, so the meet and greets we usually have good sized crowds for have been falling off this time. I don't know if it's losing interest in my visits or people's lives are just very busy. I hope it's the second one. Salem's Cave hopes I'm well. I am doing well. Thank you for that. And then where else we had to, let me come back down here. So, okay, come on. There we go. Now I'm caught back up. That's where it went. Okay. Pierre Orban is here. Garrett Gillich in from Somerset West. Robert Renkun, good evening to you. Cobus Prinsloo, welcome to you. And then Brian says there's paint drying in America now. What? Yeah, it is. Marchant Watson, that's a cool name, man. Marchant. Welcome to you. Martin Filion said, listen, all ANC is going to do is postpone and revote. The IC will take in 3 months and then it will go on again. Yeah, well, the problem with that is that South Africa doesn't have the money for a revote. And the ANC doesn't have the money to conduct a campaign. And if there's a revote now, they'll be like sharks in the water. The ANC could not hold a revote now. It would be a total disaster. A total disaster. If you think 40% was bad, if they do a revote now, after people seeing that the ANC actually can be beaten and they mobilize, people come out and vote to destroy the ANC in the next round. The ANC will drop to all right, you ready for this bold prediction? If you have a second round of elections, the ANC won't get 40%. They will get 33% or less. 33% or less. You heard it here first. 33% or less if there is another vote within the next 90 days. So they don't want that. Marilyn Brokenshaw says, hello, good evening, Marilyn. How are you? Insight for ZA, your coverage election has been amazing. Thank you, Insight. I wish tens of thousands of people would be watching it. Quite frankly, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but I think my coverage has been better than any of the legacy media outlets or even most of the social media or the YouTube content. But I'm biased. But thank you for that. They said he's not a member of MK. Who, Jacob Zuma? No, he's not a member of MK, if that's who you're talking about, which is comical. You're talking about Jabalanu Kumali, but he's the founder. They tried to kick him out. Mario Ferreira's here. Renant, he says, got the news on WhatsApp. Chris referenced the 58 MK cancellation. Okay. The whole thing is a crap show. Kindergarten at the moment. Indeed, it is. Aaron says, on Newsroom Africa, Channel 405, a parliamentary advocate confirmed canceling MK party flights as it will be frivolous expenditure. As they notify. Yeah, but again, see, the problem with that, Ernst, is that Jabalani Kumalo is the number one on their list, and he did not say that. Jacob Zuma did that. So if the government canceled their flights as a consequence of Jacob Zuma opening his mouth, they are negligent. They are negligent here. Jabalani Kumalo intends to be at Parliament on Friday. He may have to take an Uber to get there from KZN, but he intends to be there. Eric Borschutz is back, says, good evening. Thank you, Aaron, for confirming Newsroom Africa. So I got that information. There's the confirmation. Do you think an IFP president will be destroyed in ANC? No, I don't think so. I think what would happen is the coalition I'm talking about. Look, I'm not advocating for it because it's good. There are no good options for South Africa. Folks, you're in the cuck. You are in the cuck. You're screwed. I mean, honestly, quite frankly, life would be much better if all we did was, instead of talking about politics, come on here. All we did instead of talking about politics was enjoy this lovely little rant by Bodo Vodka and Marty Fischer.
In der Stadt gab es auch ein paar Barbaren, die hatten von Barbaras Rhabarber erfahren. Und da sie fortan jeden Tag bei Barbara waren, nannte man sie bald die Rhabarber-Barbaren. In den Folgejahren ließ...
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That is the best thing on TikTok in years. Anyway, yeah. And the dance moves that come along with the brain. No, but look, there are no good options here. There are just less worse options. That's the bottom line. Some options are less worse than others. And the least worst option is that with ANC, DA, and IFP. It keeps MK, it keeps EFF, their juvenile fake governance out of government, and it stops all the movement to destroy the economy and expropriate and steal things that people worked hard their entire lives for. So it's the best, least worst option. So there you go. In that case, what would happen is South Africa continue to decline at a much slower rate. It might turn around if the ANC is able to get rid of the troglodytes and fossils, but I don't know if Cyril Ramaphosa has enough money to buy off those votes inside the ANC or in the NEC. So he's probably doling out big wads of cash right now, a la Pala Pala. He's probably got, people stuffing money in the couches and the sofas of members of parliament and the NEC as we speak tonight. In fact, if there's been any cash in transit heist this week, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It might be a funding source. Just saying. So IFP President Harry would not be bad for, it wouldn't hurt the ANC. USA lost heavily against India. Oh, thank you for that, genre. Yeah, well, it's not a surprise. We're not a cricket nation, although we've had cricket for well over 100 years in America, about 130 years, but nobody watches it. Chris, do you think that John Cena is president material? Okay, Insight, you're asking for my honest, unbiased opinion, my experience. Yeah, I think he could be a president. I'm a little concerned about his thin skin and his reaction, but you know what? Trump has a thin skin at times, and he was a fine president. So yeah, he could be a president. But the problem is that in South African context, can he be president? I mean, there are a lot of racists in this country and black supremacists, and they have a problem with white people. So would it work? I don't know. Zambia's had a white president since the end of the colonial era, but that was by default. The president died in office, and he served until the next election was called. Ludwig Schur says perhaps that is what Putin wants. I don't know. Mario Rebello, good evening to you. And Daniel Robinson, some people say it's dangerous for MK to be in opposition, but I think it weakens the gangsterism within ANC long term. It creates a dynamic where they can associate bad apples. Exactly. Look, in some respects, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you this. You're not going to hear this from other analysts, but I'll tell you this right now. In some respects, the formation of MK is a gift to the ANC. Now you go, wait a second, Chris. The ANC, they were destroyed by MK. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. I've done the analysis. I've talked about this already. They may have taken probably about 1 million votes from the ANC, but that wasn't enough to drive them into the minority. The ANC lost 4 million votes. It went from 10.4 million in 2019 to 6.4 million this time. Those votes are people who stayed away, by and large. Now, they didn't lose those votes to MK. Maybe 900,000, possibly 1 million votes went to MK that would have voted for the ANC. But the rest are votes are people who gave up on voting. They lost interest. They don't trust the ANC, they don't trust governance, and they were inspired or they're motivated because they like Zuma or because they're Zulu or whatever the case is. So yeah, the bottom line here is that this is a gift for the ANC because Ramaphosa and his ilk, the Venga boy, or the Venga bus is coming there. The Venga bus is coming. The Venga boys are on the, yeah. So the Venga boy there has no real constituency within the ANC. He doesn't, and that's why he was never the vice president or the deputy president, should say, in the beginning. Under Mandela, it was Thabo Mbeki because he had no constituency. So Jacob Zuma has Zulus, and he also has MK vets, not a whole lot of them, but they are influential. And then you've got, before that, all the Xhosa who are in the party. And so the problem with the Venda boy is that nobody there backs him. And it shows. He had to buy tons of votes and spend a bunch of money to buy off people in the conference the party had in 2017 when he just beat out Nkosi Zana Midale Mzuma. By the way, Who's heard about her lately? She's disappeared, thank goodness. And pretty soon, Jabba the Hutt and the Lady Pondor will be disappearing. And so will Becca Chile. I think the rest of us are going to be throwing parties and dancing in the street. I think the criminals will be nervous now because now Becky can no longer be there to make sure they get away with wanton lawlessness. That doesn't mean crime situation will improve, but I'm just saying. So, yeah, this is a gift for the ANC. The MK party is a gift. And people are like, what are you talking about? It is a gift. Why is it a gift? Because now the ANC people who use their brain and are middle of the road, there are some of them, or reasonable chaps, can easily identify the turncoats in their ranks. The radical economic transformation, they've come out and exposed themselves. Lindiwe Sisulu, kicked to the curb. That's one example. And the list goes on and on and on. By the way, speaking of a reprehensible human being, Lindiwe Sisulu, the garbage she said about the Democratic Alliance, trying to tie the Democratic Alliance to the National Party when it's actually the National Party that merged with the ANC. With the ANC, not the DA. It's shameful. Anyway, and then we have the EFF. Sorry, I've got something here on my forehead. We have the EFF and MK trying to rewrite history. Well, we will not have a government of national unity. The government of national unity perpetuated apartheid and brought us misery and kept the National Party racist in power. No, the government of national unity actually led to a genuine effort at reconciliation, at least the highest levels, by Madiba and others, and it prevented a civil war in some respects. It kept the country from disintegrating, and the country got off to a decent start of governance in the government of national unity. The ANC and the government began building homes, RDP homes, that 1 million they promised in 5 years. They didn't achieve that. It took longer. They also began extending the electrical grid and water services to the South Africans who didn't have it previously, and things were off to a decent start. So that's what the government of national unity brought. It didn't bring apartheid. It didn't bring ANC or National Party stalwarts. This is rewriting history by red Teletubbies in the economic freedom fighters and by green Teletubbies in the MK party. It's fiction. It's not true. Don't believe they're garbage. I'm not in favor of government of national unity, but don't lie about the previous one because it actually worked at the time to meet the needs. And if you watch my interview with Major General Bantu Holomisa, the leader of the UDM, earlier today, go back and watch that video. He actually talks about this because he was part of that government of national unity timeframe in Parliament. Sorry, I keep rubbing my forehead, but it's driving me nuts. So Jason Menga says MK-NCPA is run by a bunch of, yeah, well, I don't doubt that. Clive Shriek is late. Kamal Jody Taylor says, thanks for the great analysis, Colonel. Enjoy your time out there. Well, thank you, Mail Jody Taylor. Please don't leave the stream. Please stick around. Excuse me. By the way, folks, have you hit the like button yet? Just 128 likes. Somebody just hit it. Thank you for that. And look, if you happen to be rich like Louis Liebenberg or Tokyo Sexuale or Patrice Botsepi, feel free to drop a super chat. Eric Borcher says, what do you think about this country falling apart to the point of anarchy? These parties are just too wide apart. Zulus are proud, headstrong people. Do you see unrest? Look, I'm not predicting unrest. I did predict unrest in June 29th. On June 29th, 2021, I predicted unrest in KZN. It spread to Soweto in Gauteng, and it was far bigger than I expected in KZN. I did predict that. That was easy to predict. This time, the security cluster is actually aware of the situation and not sleeping, so I'm not predicting it. There will be localized issues or problems breaking out here and there, but I don't foresee what we saw in 2021. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It could happen. And also, remember that you talk about Zuma and you talk about the Zulu. They're not the only Zulu party. Now, they're not designed that way, but the Inkatha Freedom Party is originally a Zulu base, and most of its voters are Zulu. Not all, but many of them are. So there's competing ideologies amongst Zulus there. So, you know, it's not just Jacob Zuma, it's the Inkatha Freedom Party too. Ferdosh says that Becca Chile is coming to be his garden boy. I'm not a garden boy. Well, LL Entertainment. And Gabriel's here. Robert Rankin Grasshopper, would you use the Becca Chile Garden Service? Eric says, thank you for your insight and opinion. I appreciate it. Well, it's my pleasure, and thanks for tuning in. Listen, folks, it's really heartwarming to see more people find my content while I'm here in South Africa. I've been doing this for 4 years. I do this because I think it's important. I don't work for a media organization. I don't have bosses. I rely on the ability to use free speech, which has often been censored by YouTube, to bring people the news, bring them analysis. So thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. If you don't have the resource to become a paying member, that's fine. I don't seek paying members. I'm glad. I monetized the channels because my viewers demanded of me, and so I did it. And I appreciate it, but it's not about that. That's how. Hey, there's Hank. Welcome, Hank. Hank and I saw each other at Loftus the other day. Hank, you going to Loftus this week? No, you're not. You're going to be out of town, I think. So that's a shame. You're going to miss the semifinal. So yeah, Hank loves the hoodie. It's a Bulls hoodie. It's pretty cool. Let me show you the bottom of it here. Bulls, Bulls, Bulls. It's a pretty cool hoodie. Yeah. So yeah. So I do this because I think it matters, and I have no hidden agendas. That's a fact. People try to attribute all kind of hidden agendas to things, but they simply aren't true. I'm open about who I am and where I've been and what I've done, and it's no secret. For those who know, I was an Army intelligence officer. I did that for over 30 years. And well, here comes a super chat. Is that Australian dollars? James English says, "What's it like getting around South Africa?" Actually, it's pretty good, pretty good. I have run into some crappy infrastructure, but I found that PE. And by the way, today, that's what I was going to get to. Today, I went out with Ronaldo Gos, the Ward 2 counselor, who's from the Democratic Alliance. Many of my viewers know who Ronaldo is. Ronaldo and I went out with some other DA folks, and we fixed potholes. How cool is that? So I'm making South Africa great each and every day. I'm making South Africa great one pothole at a time. So yeah, did the pothole thing. So James, thank you for the $2 Australian super chat. It's been a while since I had an Australian super chat. Yeah, so the deal is getting around has actually been pretty darn easy. So let me just tell you. So I just gave you a like on that super chat. Thank you for that. So someone else did too. Look at that. You can give a like on James' super chat. It's pretty nice of them to do that. So yeah, so it's planes, trains, and automobiles. Well, there's no trains because the train service here is screwed except for the How train. But I've been using FlySaf Air to get me around. Also Avis for my rentals, my hires, and works pretty well. I've been upgraded 2 of the 3 times I've had a car so far. It's been pretty awesome. Yep. Hank says the whole of South Africa should unite and support the Bulls this weekend. 100 Rand. Thank you for that, Hank. Ernst just gave 200 Rand. Wow, thank you for that, Ernst. Wow, that's just a super sticker. Thank you for that. I gave them both a like. Feel free to like those super chats, folks, if you don't mind. Yeah, so getting around has been pretty easy. Look, there are some real infrastructure challenges in South Africa, but thus far I've pretty much avoided. I will say this, the R21 between Pretoria and OR Tambo is getting a bit dodgy and needs some work. But that road is heavily traveled. So, I mean, that happens on roads. But down here in PE, did run into some potholes, particularly in the main route here. But we fixed several of those today. That was pretty cool. Interesting. So those photos have been shared in the travel group. If you're following in the travel group, if you're not, Hendo, if one of the mods could put up the link to the travel group, if you've got a place to go. So let me, before I get back to the chat and super chats that are coming in, that was Aaron's first super chat. Thank you for that. Let me just very quickly give you a rundown of my schedule now as it sits at the moment. So if Monday, in fact, is a legal holiday, I'll probably use that to visit people in the Gauteng area because since I can no longer attend the swearing in for Ronaldo for Parliament, this is my trip for the moment. And everything's laid on except the last leg for Western Cape. So I will be here tonight, tomorrow evening, or late tomorrow afternoon, I fly to Durban. We have a meet and greet at the Suncoast Casino. I think it's Suncoast. They're just near the Kings Park. And that's at 6:30 tomorrow. Sorry for the time, but there's only one flight out of PE to Durban. So it's at 4:30, so I can't do any better than that. I would have gone early in the day. So that'll be then. And after that, the next day I go to Howick, overnight there. And then I come back on Thursday to fly back to Gauteng. In Gauteng, Thursday and Friday night, I'll be staying in Northcliffe, most likely, with friends who are in the chat. And then on Saturday night, I'll be staying at the Marriott at Loftus, and I'll be at the Bulls game where I have press credentials covering it. You may have, the handful of people caught the video of my interview of Jake White and Marcel Kotsia and Marco, the coach of Benetton. So as a journalist, I attend those press conferences, and so I only pull out the portions where I ask a question and Jake, because you can watch the rest of the stuff on one of the major media things, but this is my contribution to my questions. So that's up. You can go watch that. You can see what questions I ask and how Jake answered them and Marcel answered them and so on. Anyway, so I usually do that by Zoom when I'm out of the country, but I'm here on the ground, so I was able to do that. So I'll be at the Bulls game Saturday, and then my calendar is free after that. I do have to be back in Cape Town by the 19th, because on the 20th I'll be speaking at Rondebosch at the Reformation Society. So that's my next hard stop. That means I could leave on the 18th or the 17th or the 16th. But now that I don't have to be back in Cape Town for the swearing in on the 17th, I won't try to rush back. So I'll get a couple more days in Gauteng. If things work out well, I'll be appearing on Gareth Cliff this coming Friday. So we'll see how that goes. And there you have it. So that's an update on my schedule. I leave South Africa on the 25th, which is unfortunate. I'd love to stay another month so I could go to the Irish series on the Wales game, but it isn't going to happen. So the Wales game isn't here. It's up there, I think. So Red Rhino says 35 Rand, buy yourself a Coke for fixing the potholes. Well, thank you for that. Do appreciate that. Let me give you a thank you on that one. Yes, that's a great question. I wonder if Big CI are involved, especially with the machines they're used for voting. Eric, listen, brother, people need to stop attributing things to the CIA. They're simply not feasible or even possible, or even why. Why would the CIA have anything to do with the fixing of machines here in South Africa? It doesn't make any sense, or did I miss something here? The CIA doesn't really give a flying flip about South Africa. It has no strategic impact on the world. I'm sorry if that hurts people's feelings, but it's true. There was a time South Africa boxed above its weight during the National Party era, and the world relied on its gold and then its platinum, but the world doesn't rely on that anymore. China relies on your coal, and we buy your wine and your BMW parts and some other things, but you're not that important as a country geopolitically. People say, but we're geographically located. No, you're not strategically located. We got the Suez Canal. But when the Suez Canal shuts down, it's been shut down, what, twice in 100 years? During when the Brits and the French and the Israelis attacked it, and then, of course, when the ship ran aground recently. So it's only briefly that happened. So, look, I love South Africa, but I'm just honest. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your skirt and lie to you and tell you that, oh, it's such an important place. South Africa matters. It does, but it doesn't have the weight that it once had. It's like Canada. Canada used to be a major player in international geopolitical events, but after Canadian paratroopers were caught on video abusing Somalis, during Operation Restore Hope, they disbanded that parachute regiment, and Canada's gone downhill. Now it's controlled by leftists, and it has virtually no impact on the global stage. It's sad to see that, but it's true. All right, so Nick Groves is here. Hey, Nick. We missed Nick. That was the other person we missed last night because he injured his back. Genre says, just saw you on U.S. Army War College like 5 years ago without a beard. Nice. Should do no beard again. Well, Genre, the problem with doing no beard, which I'm fine with, I'm not wedded to this beard. I'm not a major fan of it, but the problem is that it's a trademark. Everywhere I go, I mean, even in France, I was at the World Cup and people coming up to me 20 times. That's not an embellishment. 20 times people came up to me at the World Cup game in Paris, the Stade de France, Ireland, South Africa, before the game, outside when people were drinking, getting pissed. Hey, it's the Colonel. Hey, it's the rugby guy. Hey. And I was just, because they see the beard. And it happened on election day here in South Africa when I covered the polling stations on election day on May 29th. The last 4 polling stations I went to, I was recognized 5 times in about an hour. People recognize me. And in the dark, people see me in the dark with a beard, recognize me. It's a trademark. And so until I have 500,000 subscribers, I won't cut the beard. If I get 100,000 subscribers, maybe I'll cut the beard. No, I'm not a big fan of it. I'd love to see it go. I'm happy without the beard. I almost said that I was devastatingly handsome, but that would be very biased. Ronnie Harhoff, that's an interesting name, says, Chris, thanks for making a flight from Joburg to PE much quicker. I enjoyed the chat. Hey, Ronnie! Yeah, Ronnie. Hey, Ronnie. Ronnie was sitting next to me on the flight there, and it was brilliant. It was epic. We had a fantastic conversation. Thanks for joining us, Ronnie. I'm so glad you're here. Wow. Oh, there you go. So I didn't know Ronnie. We met on the plane along with the lady in the back seat with her, I don't know, it must be about an 8 or 10-year-old child. They live on a farm, so it was a nice conversation with them. And then Ronnie and I got in a conversation. We chatted for a good portion of the trip. In fact, I had my Discover magazine I was going to read about Neanderthals, and I never did get to finish it because we had such a lekker conversation. Ronnie, thank you so much. Bye donkey. It's a real pleasure. Yeah, it did make the flight go very quickly, so thank you for your companionship and your conversation. I really liked it. And folks, that's one of the payoffs for me. That plus, people are very kind to me. Tonight, I had a lovely meal with Ronaldo and his wife, Lauren. It was fantastic. Really great experience. Unfortunately, Ronaldo talked up this amazing milkshake, said it's the best milkshake you ever have in your life. And I'm like, okay, I'm game. Let's go. And we got there and they were closed. That was a little disappointing. But I will go by in the morning to the mall and try to get one of their milkshakes because Ronaldo said it's so good. But Ronaldo bought me dinner tonight. It's very kind of him. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, so I do appreciate that. And then we had a good time after fixing the potholes today. I'll make a video on fixing the potholes, but we'll see how it goes. Honestly, folks, those of you who follow me, see my schedule, you see how hard I work to get news, to do analysis, to keep you up to date. It's draining. Look, your brain uses a lot of energy and it can physically wear you down. It's not just running and jogging and exercising that wears people out or lifting bricks and smashing hammers. It's also your brain. And I've been doing all of that. And so, man, I found myself twice in the past week just knackered. and ready to drop off. And today was one of those examples. I was supposed to meet with Byron Shepherd tonight, but he had to beg off for a very, very valid reason. We were going to do a stream at his place tonight, but we'll do that tomorrow around lunchtime. Byron Shepherd, the Bri Brews, Byron and I will be chatting, no doubt, about the election. And after that, I'll have a late lunch with Ronaldo, and then it's off to the airport. And from there, Ronaldo has been, as always, a great host. He's a busy guy. Listen, I'm not playing a fanboy, but Ronaldo is, in my view, in my experience, because I've seen him work in my trips to PE, in my view, is what we consider a servant leader, someone who recognizes that his role is to serve the constituents, the people who've put him in office. It's his job to make their lives better in any way he possibly can. That's within reason and is legal. So yeah, I think that's great. That's the kind of person I am, and that's the kind of path I was on to be a politician, but did not get elected. So screw the voters. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But thank you for the 35 Rand Red Rhino. And Ronnie, it's so great to see you in here. And Donga's back. And Donga is busy. And Donga, look, if you would like 10 minutes for self-pleasure with a timeout, just keep up your rudeness. Yep. It's not laughable. It's not laughable. You know, it's so laughable in Donga that the South African government has credentialed me as a journalist. The Bulls organization has credentialed me as a journalist. The Conservative Political Action Convention has credentialed me as a journalist. The Multi-Party Charter credentialed me as a journalist. And beyond that, at least 8 rugby franchises have credentialed me as a journalist. So, Ndonga, it's laughable that you act like such an ass on this channel. So, you know, footsack, piss off, stop behaving badly. And that's the end of the entertaining Ndonga for this evening. Good Bar Betty, politicians, well, not all politicians. There's some good ones out there, but not a lot. There are some good ones out there. Skulk Jan Dryas is the Cape Sea route, Chris. That's all we have. Gotcha. Athena says we have gold and diamonds. Oh, they care. No, you don't. You don't. Athena, listen, my friend, look up where South Africa ranks in gold production. Look it up. In the past decade, South Africa has fluctuated between 6th largest and 10th largest producer of gold. You barely make it in the top 10. China is the world's largest gold producer, unless that's changed the last year or two. I haven't checked the data for a year or two. China, US, Australia, Canada, and Russia are the top ones usually for gold production. The US is big in gold production, as is Canada and Australia. Yeah, so South Africa's gold is so deep and so costly, so expensive, and so inefficient to get out that, and plus the BEE, the mining garbage that's gone on, has really ruined that mining sector. So anyway, no, your gold is not that important. Chinese like to buy it, and the Indians like it for all the jewelry they wear, but no, your gold is not that important. There was a time when South Africa's gold was critically important to the world, but now it's just marginal actor. Your platinum group of metals still matter because we're still using internal combustion engines and trying to reduce pollution, so we use platinum metals for reducing carbon or pollution output from the catalytic converters. Yeah, so the platinum group metals does matter, and that's an important thing for South Africa. But your diamonds, no. They're not even that important. Better quality diamonds come from the Congo and from Russia. They get them from there. So, and plus we got lots of artificial diamonds. So look, I'm not downplaying or trying to dismiss South Africa. I'm just trying to be honest with you. It's not that important. Total U.S. Africa trade is $20 billion. I mean, that's not even a fraction of Starbucks' global revenue. That's 2 countries of over 400 million people combined, and their trade is $20 billion a year. Less than a fraction of Starbucks. You look at Walmart. Walmart is $700 billion a year in revenue. They dwarf the U.S. and South African trade. So it just doesn't make. But people don't like to hear the truth. Look, I mean, my country's buried in debt. I mean, we've got corrupt politicians left and right. We've got some serious social problems in our country now. I don't lie about that. I'm straightforward with you about it. Eric says, appreciate that. You're welcome. Mr. Thorne says, get yourself a Stormers jersey. Mr. Thorne, I am a Stormers fan. I have been a Province fan since 1982-83 and a Springboks fan since the same time. I was at the Stormers Lions game, and I am wearing the Bulls jersey or hoodie because that's what I bought when I was at Loftus. So, yeah, I support all South African rugby, including varsity, school rugby, all of it. Chris, I hope you get to chat with Dr. Sean Stewart from UCS. I didn't hear back from him. I'll have to check with him again. Colonel Beard is typically right-wing, think crazy. Oh, that's Ndonga. Wow. All right, one more Ndonga, you get a timeout so you can self-pleasure yourself. Rita says, good evening. Do you collect any rugby jerseys? Oh, no, Rita. I collect all of them. Now, there's some I don't like, but I started focusing only initially on Springbok jerseys and USA Eagles jerseys. But I have all the ones I've worn to World Cups, the Eagles and the Springboks. I have all of them for the past 4 World Cups. And I could, any jersey that I can get my hands on. And so now I have a new jersey, which I can't show on the screen, but one of my viewers got me a Lions jersey, and it's signed. And it says, "Make your dreams come true. Mak or Drom Var," I think it is in Afrikaans. And it's signed by none other than Yanni Duplessis. So that's waiting for me in Gauteng when I come back. Yeah, that one I'll never wear. I'll just keep it as a collector's thing. But the other ones I wear on my broadcast. I have over 200 rugby jerseys, and I've collected from all over the world. Some of my rugby jerseys are prize ones, like this year in the World Cup. I got a Romania jersey, I got a Georgia jersey, I got a Portugal jersey, of course South Africa. No USA, we weren't in the World Cup. I've got a Scotland and Ireland from 2019. Yep, I do collect rugby jerseys. Yep. I told people at CIA and whoever in Anderson's out because it will be like admitting black government was a big mistake, so that will never happen. No, they're not interested because there's not much geostrategic importance here. That doesn't mean they don't pay attention. I mean, they have analysts that study South Africa. I wrote about South African intelligence community, so it's not exactly completely ignored, but it just doesn't rise to the level of Taiwan, North Korea, China, Iran, or even Finland at this point. So it's important to know that. Egg says Morgan Freeman for sure is not. No, Morgan Freeman's not a leftist scumbag. He's actually a very decent right of center person. Leon says, have you ever met Big Daddy Liberty in person? Of course I have. We did a live stream from Amazimtoti on my first trip back after the COVID scam. Remember the COVID scam? You guys remember that? When they couldn't travel, couldn't go anywhere? Well, in August of 2022, I was able to come back to South Africa for the first time. And Erica set up a meet and greet at her residential building there in Amazimtoti. And Big Daddy Liberty came to it. And we did a live stream, Big Daddy Liberty. Now, you can find it on this channel. Look up Big Daddy Liberty on this channel and Chris Wyatt, and you will find our conversation. I'll tell you this about Sile Nkubise. That dude is big. He's huge. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I mean, you see him on television or on the screen, you think he's a big guy, but then you sit next to him, I felt like a small child. He's a big fellow. Yeah, I haven't talked to him this trip, but last time we were able to link up. This time I haven't talked to him. So, what do they call black activities? What's that? George, hey, good evening, George. Grasshopper. And Funsell Kolgenberg says Google rare earth elements. Yeah, you haven't got. Yeah, okay. You've got a mine in the Karoo. Is it in production now? It wasn't in production a decade ago. The Chinese bought up everything except the mine in California, which had been shut down for environmental reasons. And then after the Chinese punished the Japanese because of this dispute over barely existent islands in the Sea of Japan, which actually are Japanese soil, but the Chinese try to claim it. And they threatened them, so they punished the Japanese by cutting off rare earth elements after buying up all the mines around the world. And so that put the U.S. production in Mountain View back into production, that mine. And the South Africans chose to go into the Karoo and start digging. But I'm not aware what production's coming out of there. But rare earth elements, South Africa's not a big contributor for that yet. Maybe they will be one day. Okay, also the biggest unemployment. Yeah, George, the biggest unemployment producer. Yep. Markable right swing in Europe. Yeah, I heard that. I have to take a closer look at it. Ayanda gives a thumbs up. I'm not sure what that was about. Chantel Boyson's back. Whoop whoop. You're in a Bulls blue jersey. Grasshoppers. I don't have a Griquas jersey. I was promised one by Johan Momsen, who plays for the Griquas and also plays for Major League Rugby in the States. I know Johan. I've met him several times at several games. Interviewed him. Great young guy. Fantastic lock. He was the lock of the year in Major League Rugby a couple of years ago. Now he's playing in Houston. And anyway, so Johan got me a Griquas jersey, and we've just not linked up, and so I've never gotten it. I don't know if he still has it around, but he did give me one. I don't have a Griquas jersey. I love the Griquas. I mean, anybody who plays rugby on concrete deserves your respect. Anyway, but yeah, so I'd love to have a Griquas jersey. I root for them unless they're playing province. We need to get America out of the Congo too. Then there will be more peace there. America's not in Congo, Athena. What are you talking about? South Africa's in the Congo. We're not there. That's comical for you to say America needs to get out of the Congo. We're not there. You are. You are sticking your nose in the Congo, not us. We have no troops in the Congo. We have no role there. We have no corporations operating there. You do. South Africa, not the United States. Funny how people just make stuff up. Skulk Von Dry says, you're right about our minerals all being mismanaged. Yep. Any thoughts and results of the EU election results? Zeno Lavaskakni, yes, it's what I expected, although I thought maybe some of these right of center parties would do a little bit better. But the leftists need to be punished. I saw in Belgium the leftist whiny little biatch crying, "Ooh, we lost." I lost. I was like, okay, tomorrow's another day. But a whining because they know that they can't subjugate and turn people into serfs and pillage them and rape them of their money and treat them like scum, which is what leftists do. So Carl Brown says, considering the majority of the international trade is Northern Hemisphere focused, South Africa is really prejudiced by being at the bottom of Africa. Shipping costs become prohibitive. Carl, smart move. Hey, that's a very smart move. You got it right. That is a big problem. It is a major concern. Most of the shipping in the world goes through the Straits of Malacca or the South China Seas and over the Pacific to North America, or through the South China Seas and the Straits of Malacca to the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, and then into Europe. That's where most of the world's shipping goes, those two lanes. There are shipping lanes around South Africa, and there are a lot of ships out there, but they pale in comparison to the number and the amount of trade. The Greeks won yes, they did, Jean-Ray. They won. And then we got something else here. Hang on. Come on, come back here. Oh, this chat. Actually, I am going to address something Ndonga said. Ndonga says to think that the majority of South Africans are low IQ is preposterous. Well, the problem with that is the facts don't back up your argument here. As people pointed out, medically speaking, the average IQ in South Africa, purportedly, GDP is around 69 or 70. That's pretty low. Now, I haven't seen that report, so. Infocus Media, I have a frame signed Springback jersey when they won 2-7. That's awesome, Infocus Media. I also have a wonderful gift that was given to me, which is sitting at Hank Klopper's house because I don't know how I'm going to get it to the States. It's too big. I'm going to have to take a look at it again sometime. It's gorgeous. Oitsi Aya says, but you're an American, man. Why are you... What does R poor mean? I don't know what that means, R poor. You're going to have to fix that, brother, because I don't know what that means. Yes, I know what that means. Is it true the Israeli army profit 10 billion from illicit trade in Congolese diamonds? I find that implausible. The Israeli army is not funded by illegal diamond trade. Maybe there's people in Israel who are involved in the diamond trade. In fact, there is. There's a very wealthy Israeli who's involved in mineral trade in the Congo, but he's hardly the only person. But the Israeli army, I find that hard to believe. South Africa is the best producer of excellent rugby players, says Slut Steenkamp. I won't argue with that. Rita says, okay, I've got an All Blacks shirt with the number 10 Carter in the back, All Blacks emblem on the front, perhaps. No, thank you, Rita. I do appreciate that, but I have no All Blacks jerseys. I don't collect All Blacks jerseys. I don't like the All Blacks. They are evil spawn. No, if you want to give me a jersey, Rita, I take it, but I usually get ones that I can fit in, and I wear double X because of my height, double X large. Boy, I keep getting these tweets about Roman Kamenak, about this whole thing about he was wrong about Andre de Ruyter. So Daniel Robinson says, what do you make of Europe? So many countries trying to suddenly change simultaneously smell something, perhaps because Germany's going to go down a dangerous path. Okay, so Daniel, okay, let me ask you this question, Daniel. What is a dangerous path about the Alternative for Deutschland? I mean, honestly, what is it? Are you getting that from the media? I mean, what is the reason that you're saying it's a dangerous path? What's the dangerous path? What is the alternative for Germany actually proposed or done that is dangerous? They have not suggested anything to violate the Grundgesetz. They have not done anything. You have people that falsely attribute things to them about, like, kicking minorities out or kicking out immigrants. They've done nothing to do that. This is just media hysteria. Remember when Donald Trump got elected president? Oh, he's going to start wars. Oh, no, Donald Trump ended wars. It was Barack Obama and George Bush who started the wars for different reasons. And it was Barack Obama who started more wars than even George Bush. But Donald Trump ended wars. He calmed the tensions with North Korea down, even though they laughed at him. They made a joke of him. They said he didn't know what he's doing. He said he's giving North Korea a platform. But what happened? North Korea stopped firing intercontinental ballistic missiles over the Sea of Japan and Japanese airspace, which is an act of war. It stopped because Donald Trump stroked the ego of Little Kim. No, not the rapper, but the North Korean dictator. And he ended the war with ISIS by utterly destroying ISIS in a matter of weeks. He ended the war in Iraq. He ended the war in Afghanistan. There was no war in Afghanistan when Joe Biden became president. That's a lie. We had troops there training the Afghan forces. They weren't in combat. They hadn't been in combat for 18 months when Joe Biden destroyed Afghanistan. So the same thing, the alternative for Deutschland, Daniel, what are they a threat? How are they endangered? It's like Marie Le Pen. They lose their mind over Marie Le Pen. What has she said that's made them so angry? It's because the leftists control the media, the leftists control the narrative, they control the broadcast, and people drink up the garbage. I mean, honestly, give me an example of what they've done or said that's so wrong. And that's, I'm not attacking you. I'm saying I want to know what is the alternative for Deutschland. And some people say, well, they've got this master plan. No, that was one person who happens to be in the party. If you're going to hold a party responsible for what one minor official said, then we can just go to town on the ANC. We can go to town on the Democrats, Republicans, all political parties, because they all have reprobates. And there's no sudden change here, Daniel. It's not sudden. This isn't sudden at all. This has been building for a decade. And each successive election, conservative and right-wing parties have gained. In Hungary, they gained power. They've gained in Poland. They've gained in the Netherlands. The Alternative for Deutschland was nothing 10 years ago. Now they're the second largest party in all of Germany, and it's been on a glide path. People are hot full. They're hot full of this garbage, this nonsense of their countries being invaded by people who have no business being there. And that's not xenophobic. People are welcome to visit. People are welcome to work in a country when they seek approval. When they just flood into a country illegitimately and then demand things. I mean, we've got people in the streets of Germany walking around in hijabs, verbally assaulting German women for not wearing hijabs. What kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that? That's utter garbage. You want to wear a hijab? There's a place where hijab is appropriate. It's certainly not appropriate anywhere in Germany. Nowhere in Germany. Nowhere in Germany. Doesn't mean you can't wear it. I'm just saying it's not appropriate. Went to Houston last week. That place is crazy. Oh, yeah, no. The humidity is brutal, brutal, brutal. Yep. Ursula Windsor says, thank you for your informative videos. My pleasure, Ursula. Thank you for tuning in, becoming a subscriber. I really appreciate that. Makes a huge difference, keeps me going. And so I don't know why Chris is saying hutful. Steven says, kick them out of Europe. Rob Peters says, evening, Colonel, plenty of buttholes in your stream this evening. There's a few. We've been tracking a lot of them. Whenever we talk about the elections, it's really giving some people chest pains. Really, really hurts their feelings. The Protege says, hey, Chris, could you please add your thoughts on Hamas-Israel war? Well, Protege, you must be new to the channel because I've been talking about it endlessly, and I will add that. Hank says, Edward, USA cricket doing well in World Cup. They beat Pakistan. We beat Canada, too. We crushed them. I watched that game with Anton, one of my viewers over in Belleville. I was visiting him in Belleville in the Western Cape, and he had the cricket game on. I'm watching the Americans. They're really Indian fellows, but they're Americans, I guess, and a couple Afrikaners on the team. 6 runs. 6 runs. 6 runs. It was amazing. They just crushed the Canadians, and then they beat Pakistan. That's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so let's delve into the Hamas-Israel war. So here's the bottom line. There are all kinds. Sorry, I got to adjust my seat here because it's a little bit uncomfortable. There are all kinds of misnomers and fairy tales about what's happening in Israel. Let's just be very clear. The first one is the idiots on the political left are like, Israel out of Gaza. They were saying that on October 8th. Well, on October 8th, Israel was not in Gaza. Israel had abandoned Gaza in 2005 to the Palestinian Authority. They had turned over all government responsibilities, and they pulled all of their officials, police, government officials, and not just that, but they uprooted Jewish and Christian families who had lived in Gaza for centuries, removed them from Gaza, and moved them into Israel proper. Yeah, so this stupidity of Israel out of Gaza is exactly that, stupid, because it wasn't true. They weren't in Gaza. And then the next thing is that Israel, attacking Gaza. No, Hamas invaded the territorial sovereignty of Israel and then attacked civilians in a war crime, a crime against humanity, the brutal slaughter of innocents. That's what happened. That's what happened. And Israel, under the United Nations, I think Section 46 of the UN Charter, I could be wrong, you guys stand for correction on that, guarantees the right of self-defense. In fact, let me look that up because I don't want to be wrong. Which UN's right of self-defense. Okay, hang on. Come on. I think it's 46. UN right of self-defense. There it is. UN Charter right of self-defense. And that is, 51, excuse me. Yep. Nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations. Israel is a member of the United Nations. Hamas invaded its sovereignty and murdered 1,200 civilians. Well, some were military. And brutal fashion. And by the way, Hamas murdered not just Jews, for those not paying attention. I've said this since the very beginning. From the very beginning. They murdered Christians. They murdered Jews. They murdered Muslims. They murdered Arabs. They murdered Thais. They murdered Filipinos in the most barbaric and sick fashion. And people deny that it happened. But the problem with that is that they live streamed it. They live streamed their acts. And then people are like, well, it seems implausible they can fly ultralights. No, it happened. So people need to stop denying it. Israel has the right to defend itself. And as long as Hamas has weapons and tunnels, Israelis are not safe. And what is also forgotten in this whole debate is that for the last 20 years, since Israel pulled out of Gaza, after Hamas came to power, they've been launching rockets and missiles into Israel at schools, clinics, kibbutzes, libraries, universities, hospitals, attacking civilians, war crimes, crimes against humanity. The only reason we haven't had mass slaughter is because the Israelis invested billions of dollars to develop the most advanced air defense system integrated called the Iron Dome. The most integrated, successful air defense system. But it can't stop all these missiles. So Israel has every right. In fact, Israel had every right to invade Gaza before October 7th when they were attacked. Now, it becomes a question of proportionality. As a military officer, as an intelligence analyst, and as a former judge in military affairs, and someone who taught the law of land warfare, among other things, there is the question of proportionality. And one could make a fair argument that the Israelis' response has been over the top on far too many instances in what's going on in Gaza. I would have conducted the campaign very differently. It would have been almost entirely a special forces operation, and that's how I would have done it. But that's me. I'm not in charge of Israeli Defense Forces, nor is Benny Gantz anymore. So there you go. So that's no, the right of self-defense is not qualified by proportionality. Proportionality is not a legal definition. Proportionality is a concept that is accepted and debated by political scholars. Proportionality is not a law. And you're going to pretend to be a lawyer again, Donga? Yeah. So Daniel said, no, I meant German government is banning AfD. That's a dangerous path. They're is that new? I know that their spy agencies are spying on a legitimate political party that's elected to parliament. This is a very dangerous. This is what lefties do. They turn everything into the Soviet Union. No, they can't ban the AfD. If they do, they're going to have a civil war. Exactly. The more they repress the people, the more chaotic situation Germany would be. Yep. JS says there's a viral video of Muslims in the UK shouting at an elderly black lady for eating in front of them in public during Ramadan. Yeah, exactly. Futsek. Piss off. Get the hell out. The secret to America's success for centuries was that people came, brought their unique cultural and religious beliefs, contributed to our society, added to the kaleidoscope that is America, but respected our laws, our mores, and norms. But we have people coming to America now slicing the genitals off 11-year-old girls. Yeah. Female genital mutilation. It's my culture. No, it's a crime. It's not acceptable. Many South Africans in the IDF wonder why. There aren't many. How many, Athena? How many South Africans are in the IDF? How many? Give me a figure. I'd be surprised if it's 100. I'd be surprised 100. Wonder why? Well, it's pretty simple, because a lot of Jews have dual citizenship, or they believe they have dual citizenship. They carry a passport from a country they live in, they carry a passport for Israel. And they serve in the Israeli Defense Forces because they have conscription there. Why do you wonder why, Athena? It's pretty simple math. It's not hard. What's the number? Give me the figure. Let's see if we can find on the internet. Don't know if that's going to be right. But it was Article 51 of the UN Charter, not 46. I'm confusing with them. That's why I said I stand under correction. So I went and looked it up. So how many South Africans serve in the IDF? Okay. All right. Let's see what the number is. 70 over 10 years. 70 in the last 10 years. Is that right? 70 cases South Africans serving. 70. That's many? Athena, that's many to you? Many to me would be 5,000, 3,000. 70 is not many. Well, there are 50,000 Jews in South Africa. And 70 have served. Well, presumably they're all Jews. They might be something else. That's, Athena, see, this is the problem. Many South Africans. What does that mean? Give me a number. 70 is not many. In 10 years, that's 7 per year. Most people would favor discrimination that favors their own side. Exactly. A kernel of the right of self-defense is qualified proportionality. In theory. Conrad, come on, Chris. Israel has been killing Palestinians for decades. No, Conrad. Palestinians have been murdering Jews and Christians for centuries. It was the Arabs who attacked the Jews and Christians in 1948 and tried to destroy Israel at the outset after it was formed. It was the Arabs who attacked Israel and the Palestinians who attacked Israel in 1956. In a preemptive strike, as the Arab forces began their preparations or finalizing their preparations to attack Israel, Israel attacked in 1967 in the Six-Day War and destroyed Egypt, Syria, and Jordan in 6 days. No, it's quite the other way around. Both sides have been killing each other, and if you're honest, don't say come on, Conrad. If you're going to say come on, then you have to be honest and tell the truth about both sides. And if we're honest here, many of the early Israeli leaders who wound up leading the country and military rock stars were actually terrorists. Menachem Begin was a terrorist. He did the same thing the Palestinians did back in the 1940s, except he did it to the Arabs. So I believe in the truth, not your version of the truth or my version of the truth. So let's be honest here, Conrad. The truth is that the Palestinians don't want peace. Their leaders. They were offered a two-state solution twice, and they turned it down. Yasser Arafat refused it. Ehud Barak lost his job as prime minister for offering even to negotiate Jerusalem for the Palestinians. But they don't want that. They're leaders. And so people suffer because of their arrogance while they sit in Doha as tubble-lard fat asses drinking champagne and eating caviar while Palestinians and Jews and Christians die because of the terrorist actions of Hamas. So let's be honest, Conrad. Let's get the whole story out there. Both sides. Grasshopper says people from all over the world were at the musical. That's correct. That's correct. And they murdered them all. Yep. What else? Hamas. Okay, what's this? 235 likes. Yeah, thank you for that. Rob Peters say, yep, okay. Hezbollah, Hamas, yep. ISIS, yeah, all demonic, yep. Declan Kelly says, oh, okay. Oh, I don't know Ndonga on TikTok. Is Ndonga on TikTok? Yep. Anyway, you guys are talking about that. So I think I've answered the question that was there. That was asking me, hopefully. So how many likes we up to? 249. We've hit just an hour broadcasting tonight. Yeah, once again, folks, the breaking news tonight was the Vice President of Malawi, Saulos Klaus Chilima, and 9 others apparently have perished or at least disappeared in a military aircraft from the Malawi Defense Force. Having trained and equipped the Malawi Defense Force, I don't know what military aircraft they currently have. Most of the aircraft were grounded when I was there. They only had a couple small planes. So that is interesting. Excuse me. This Friday, South Africa's parliament will be sworn in and a president is scheduled to be elected, but they've got to agree on one. So we have a very short window, a narrow window now for the ANC to figure out what it's going to do vis-a-vis a government of national unity and or a coalition with opposition parties. So, but they're all in opposition now. So, wow. There is discussion that secret ANC DA talks have been positive as they both sides try to sideline MK and EFF. Let's be clear about this, folks. The EFF and MK do the ANC no favors and are not going to help them in this government. So they really don't want either one of those parties. So there's a fun fact that just came up. I like fun facts. Let's see what that fun fact is. So is Ronaldo here? Where'd Ronaldo? Oh, there's Ronaldo. Hey, welcome, Ronaldo. Hey, did you just tune in? Boy, what have you been doing, man? We parted ways over an hour ago. Been out hitting the road there, hanging out on the beach. So Ronaldo and I had dinner. We talked about earlier. And I am ahead. Sorry, I missed you at Loftus. Got swine flu. Oh, no, don't give me swine flu. Heinz, I'll be back at Loftus this Saturday for the semifinal. So, and if Glasgow somehow defeats Munster, fingers crossed, not going to happen. We're going to pray for it. Maybe I'll even take a chance to Super Brew and say that. But if Glasgow defeats Munster, then the final, if the Bulls win, the Bulls got to beat Leinster. There's a lot of ifs here. Then the final will be in South Africa, but it will not be at Loftus because that's where the inauguration is taking place on June 22nd. Therefore, the final will be, at this point, FNB Stadium in Soweto, site of a famous Super Rugby clash a few years back. All right, so about a decade ago. All right, Jared Alpas, good evening to you. Yes, Ronaldo, 336 watching, but that's half what we had on election night. Thank you for that. Conrad says, Chris, I have a lot of respect for you, but the Zionist plans are no secret and you cannot argue against facts. Okay, what facts and what Zionist? Being an Israeli citizen doesn't make you a Zionist. See, this is another concept that Conrad, and thank you, I'm not being disrespectful to you. This is another concept that gets a lot of play, which is just nonsense. Zionism was about a return to the birthplace of Judaism, to the home of Judaism, bringing Jews back to Israel, Judea, Samaria, bringing back there. Zionism was a 19th century plan In 1948, the Zionists achieved their goal, the creation of the state of Israel. Therefore, Zionism has reached its goal. So what is this nonsense people keep talking about Zionist? It's I'm not saying Conrad is saying this, but it's usually used as a racial slur to attack, and you're going to say, how's it racial? Well, a religious slur, if you want to call it that, to attack Jews. Being an Israeli citizen is not a Zionist. And what are the plans? What are the plans here? I mean, the Israelis have given up Gaza. They've offered to negotiate other things. So what are the master plan here? I'd like the master plan here. That's what would be interesting to me. I'm not arguing against any facts. I'm simply stating the facts. Zionism was a 19th century creation to achieve a homeland for the Jews in the Holy Land. That was achieved in 1948. All right. Moritz Haig says, hey, well, he's saying hi to Ronaldo. Well, hey to you, Moritz. Here's a fact I found in Left Colonel. Government spending as a percent of GDP in the Eurozone is 50% higher than in Cuba. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. And Cuba gets all this credit for having put all this time and effort in education. Well, that's because so little spent on it before. All right, Grow Big TV's here. Wow, welcome, Grow Big TV. Ronaldo doing push-ups. He didn't do any tonight. Don't forget to hit the like button. I'm at Replay Dam with my old unit buddies for you. Oh, that's cool, Chris. I will entertain Ndonga here saying that he's telling Grasshopper that those who are suffering today and are unable to sustain themselves are predominantly black people. And he uses black people correctly by putting lowercase. Thank you for that, Ndonga, because it's an adjective, it's not a person. Yeah, so thank you for that. That's correct. Vestiges and legacy of apartheid. That's incorrect. That's incorrect. I was born in abject poverty. I don't live in abject poverty now. I didn't have to live under the ANC and its corrupt kleptocracy. So that's why people are living in poverty who are black today. More than enough money has been transferred to this government to build sufficient schools with proper education for all South Africans, abolition units to these schools, maintain infrastructure, trillions and trillions and trillions of rand. But so much of it has been pilfered, stolen, misused, and given to enrich the politically favored small class of elites. So, no, it's not because of apartheid. That's nonsense. That's like saying that, well, England is poor today because of the Black Plague. No, it's not. It's nonsense. No, you can attribute certain things, spatial settlement and spatial discrepancies. You can blame that on apartheid, but even that doesn't work so well. We see these scumbags from the leftist media come here like, what's that freaking, I can't think of the name right now, idiotic website that does all this stuff. And just look at the spatial disparities in South Africa. Look at this rich white neighborhood. First off, it's not a white neighborhood outside the airport in Cape Town. It's a mixed race neighborhood, so they're wrong there. This rich white neighborhood and all these black people forced to live across the highway in these makeshift. Well, the land across there was vacant. And people poured in from other parts of the country and built shacks illegally on land they didn't own and then demanded services. So that's not a legacy of apartheid. The dispossession of people, the mixed community, mostly colors, but also whites and others who lived in District 6, that's a legacy of apartheid, and none of them got their homes back. None of them got their land back. Those that got financial settlements, so they refused to take it. That is an example of a spatial disparity from apartheid. But blaming the National Party and apartheid because people live in squalor in KwaZulu-Natal in 2024 is just laughable on its face, Ndonga. You're an elite. You don't even know what it's like to be poor. Or you've forgotten. I have not forgotten what it's like to be poor and live in abject poverty because I've spent my life around it even when I escaped it. So, no. So I've entertained Ndonga's comment there. I've been ignoring them for a while there as you guys argue with him. But that's the bottom line right there. All right, there you go. So Dion Freilich, welcome to you. And Joking Eighth, whoops, jumped ahead on me again here. So Garden State Gardener, is good to see you there again. There's a big difference between Jews and Zionists. Exactly, Conrad, 100%. But I made the point, Conrad, because not you, but it is all too often applied to all Jews. All too often. And also, it's not just Jews. People call Christians like me Zionist because I believe in the sovereignty of the state of Israel. Yep. So, yeah. Chris says it is a racial slur. All right. Daniel Robinson says there's no real states in the Middle East in the modern sense prior to the idea of Zionist Arabs ruled by clan politics. Okay. 20 years from now, people will laugh at the fact that the most vaunted weapon in the world has to date is a big canister filled with toxic waste. Huh? Inigo Malicio. Interesting. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. It is a conspiracy. Why would Israel expand to the Euphrates? The Jews were kicked out of Syria a long time ago, and out of Iraq. Brandon said, "No, Chris, what cock sweater are you wearing?" Well, I'm wearing a Bulls. Well, this is messed up. So the Bulls fans don't give me a hard time when I wear Stormers jersey, but when I wear Bulls jersey, I get crap from my Stormers friends. Well, it was that or this tonight, and this one just would have left everybody befuddled. So this hoodie I could have worn tonight. So there you go. So that's a hockey jersey from Pennsylvania. So nobody knows who the heck that is, except for maybe Mike if he's here tonight from Pennsylvania. Andre. Okay, what else we got here in the chat? I said hi earlier. I love your Bulls top. Go Bulls. Sorry, Maurice Haig. I missed that. I saw you say hi to Ronaldo. So my apologies. I don't catch every piece in the chat, especially on my laptop. My big screen, 2 screens, home studio, I can catch the chat a lot better, but it's hard to do on the laptop, particularly when it jumps. But thank you for the greeting, Maurice. You're very welcome. U.S. have a much better Iron Dome to roll out. We'll mostly be on ships. Shh. Don't tell people about our system. Andre said, hey, there's Sedgefield. Andre says, admire the... Oh, God, did it again. Admire the Jews and have great respect for them. They gave the world so much. Okay, they saved 4 hostages in a raid. This is why you do not cease fire. Are Muslim Israeli Zionists then? I'm not aware if anyone's called Muslims Zionists. I know they're called Christians Zionists. Doesn't make them that. And I'm late. Privacy disadvantage. I need affirmative action to get the level of white dude with a quarter of my credentials. Yeah, see, that's untrue. I've been on the receiving end of people getting preferential treatment for their skin color, and they were less qualified than me. So I don't buy that story at all, that you have to be 4 times qualified. And previously disadvantaged is just a moniker. I was previously disadvantaged too. So I lived in abject poverty. No running water, no ablution units, used an outhouse to go to the bathroom. So, I don't call myself previously disadvantaged. That's just a race hustling term that is unfortunate. Sorry that you still feel attached to that when you are an elite now. You're a lawyer. I mean, you claim to be a lawyer in Dong, unless you told a fairy tale about that. If you're a lawyer, then you're elite. That means you went to university. Anybody who's attended university is elite. Guess what? That makes me elite. I've attended multiple universities. Yeah, less than 1% of the world's population ever attends a single lecture at a university. Less than 1%. That puts you in a unique category of human beings on this planet. Less than 1%. So anybody that went to a university that denies they're elite is just full of cock, because you are an elite. You may not think you're an elite. You may not feel like you're an elite, but you are an elite. That's the truth. Fire Dragon says, go Steelers. Steelers, like in the National Football League Steelers. Okay. How much rugby paraphernalia do you own? Radine, I've got probably over 200 rugby jerseys. I had 4 more Bulls jerseys when I was... They were on sale. I'm not rich. They were on sale. I had 4 more Bulls jerseys when I was at Loftus last week. And I've got the Lions jersey coming. I picked up an additional Lions jersey, and I think I picked up another Stormers jersey when I was in Cape Town. Yep. So at least 6 more jerseys on this trip so far. Yeah, I think the record, I think I picked up about 15 jerseys one trip here. So how the Iran Supreme Leader's death impact terrorist groups? Well, it remains to be seen, Zano. It's a good question. It remains to be seen. By the way, tomorrow evening, I'll be on the Conscious Caracal talking about Africa and what's coming in 2025. So if you want to tune in for that, it's a later time than normal. With the Conscious Caracal, will be 8 p.m. because I'm flying to Durban, and then we have a meet and greet at the Sun Coast Hotel casino there, just outside of Moses Bediba and Kings Park. Yep. Yes, there are Muslims in the IDF. That's correct. There are Arabs, there are Druze as well, and Christians. Yes, I'm a South African that is a Steelers fan. I stay up 3. Wow, congratulations, Fire Dragon. I used to be a huge football fan, but when Colin Kaepernick started violating the collective players agreement, I stopped watching the NFL when he took a knee. Is rugby growing in the USA? Yes, Andre, it is, but it's not growing fast enough in my view. We now have Major League Rugby, a professional league in its 6th season, I think it is. And I'm accustomed to seeing 30, 50,000 people in a stadium for sporting events. And when you have 4,000 to 6,000 and you think that's not successful, when actually it is, when I compare that to some of the URC teams in Wales and in Ireland, I mean, that's actually a big turnout, 4,000 to 6,000 people. Some of those stadiums up there, they don't get many more. So yeah, it's growing, but it's a big country and there's a lot of sports there. It needs more television coverage. So To me, the term Zionist refers a wish to want for self-determination and common belief. Douglas says, Colonel, you underestimate the power of white privilege. I stand 90% of being killed by a white cop in the USA for being black. Oh my God. You are so full of it, Nonga. You're just making shit up. You're just making shit up, my brother. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 90% chance of being killed. First off, the data from the Federal Bureau of Investigation refutes that false assertion. In fact, white people pulled over by law enforcement are much more likely to be involved in being shot by law enforcement than a black individual. See, that's the actual facts. That's the actual numbers. That's the actual data and the analysis, not this bullshit made up by the media telling you that black people get killed. That's first off, numerically, if you look at the numbers, more whites are killed every year. But as I do with everything, I tell you the truth. There's a reason. You should expect to see more white people killed in altercations with law enforcement by the police because we're 2/3, 3/4 of the population. 73, 74% of the population is white. So all things being equal, if everybody was the same, then if there's 100 people shot, then 50 to 75 of them should be white. But that's not how things work because most white people don't get engaged in altercations with the police. But we're much more likely to be shot than blacks. That's a fact. That's a fact. More whites are murdered or killed by police in firearms incidents every year, every single year, than blacks, usually 60 to 100% more. But it should be a larger number. I mean, no one should be killed, but I mean, it ought to be, all things being equal. So, in dog, that's nonsense. You're 90% likely. You're just making this stuff. You just pull this stuff out of thin air. It's just pure fiction. Tell the truth and stop misleading people. Why is everybody disappearing now? Are they going to bed? It's not even 10 o'clock. All right, so, we got gifted memberships here. Who gave them? Was it Nick again? Nick gave 5 gifted memberships. Joe said, just start watching now. Are you still in South Africa? Yes, I am, Joe. I'm in Port Elizabeth tonight. Tomorrow I'll be in Durban, and then over the weekend I'll be back up in Gauteng and Pretoria and Joburg. And back to the Western Cape sometime next week. So I'm still here. Being shot by the police is not a privilege. It's a miserable thing, and it's unfortunate. Bossoff says, can I ask a quick update? What's happening in South End politics? Yeah, Bossoff, I talked about it earlier. You missed it. You must have tuned in late. Yeah, so the elections are over, and the clock is ticking. The government of South Africa, the former government, the ANC majority, which is now not a majority, just 40.2% of the electorate who bothered to vote, which was only 58% of registered voters and a fraction of the eligible voters in South Africa, voted for the ANC, 6.4 million people. They lost 4 million votes. And we are looking at a situation where last week on Sunday, President Ramaphosa said the ANC is looking at a government of national unity to bring in all parties, but then he wasn't negotiating with small parties. So Bantu Holomisa and 5 other parties other than UDM put together a letter and say, hey, they wrote to the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who's responsible for the conduct of the transition of the government, and said, hey, the ANC is talking about a government of national unity, they're not talking to us. We have to be part of that. So in the meantime, the EFF and the MK have been race hustling, running around telling lies about the Democratic Alliance, claiming that it's the offspring of the National Party in the apartheid era when it's actually the ANC that merged with the National Party, and claiming that the DA is anti-worker when it's actually the ANC that's overseeing the evaporation of 300,000 industrial jobs in South Africa in the last decade alone, not the Democratic Alliance. So that's anti-worker if you ask me anything. So there's a strong push from the race hustling EFF and MK to keep the DA out of a government of national unity or potential coalition, and the DA on its side doesn't want the EFF or MK to be in the government. The difference is that when the Democratic Alliance is attacking EFF and MK, they're doing so over policy differences: nationalization of the mines, theft of land, expropriation without compensations, theft of land, and a whole host of other things. They're arguing and they're calling those parties enemies for that reason. Well, they are politically enemies, whereas the EFF and MK are running around calling the DA enemy because they're white, which is comical because they're not white. The majority of voters for the DA aren't even white. They're people of color. Whites are a vast minority in that political party. But hey, that's how it works. People just say what they want. So, Bossoff, Friday, Parliament will be sworn in. I was going to be present at that event in Cape Town, but because the schedule changed from Monday to Friday, I will be in Gauteng, so I'll miss it. And then on the 22nd, the president is scheduled to be sworn in. So Parliament will meet. They'll have to present candidates, and then they'll vote, and somebody becomes the president. Right now, the smart money, in my view, is on the IFP's leader, Hlabisa. All right, so Garden State Gardner, Buzz Lightyear, Bernardine Bush, Prince Chikabukulu, and Christo all got membership. So here's a salute to all of you. Thank you, Nick, and thank you for becoming members, the rest of you. Chris says, okay. Daniel Robinson, I need to jump in here again. Okay, that's where I was at. Ben Osborne, clever lawyer, bought his qualifications at Pepsi. How about the mainstream media's reaction to Fetterman? Rob, I am laser focused almost entirely on South Africa's current situation. So what reaction to Fetterman? What do you say? Talking about recent reaction to him or something that just happened? So yeah, Uncle Fester. Yeah, he is Uncle Fester. That's what I call him. Yep. Colonel Black Man doesn't have to be violent to be killed by white cops in the U.S. Think the PwC auditor in Texas. Think George Floyd. Think the young jogger man, Ahmaud Arbery. Yeah, well, I could run through dozens of cases of whites murdered by police and often by black police. As far as the PwC auditor, you're talking about the lady from Chicago who was killed by a cop. Yeah, and there was no adequate investigation in that. But nobody in the black community stood up for that woman when she died in police custody because they claimed that she died from suicide. She just gotten a job, went to Texas, and she wound up dead in a prison. The official cause was suicide. I don't buy the story at all, and I remember the story. And that has not been adequately addressed. As far as George Floyd, that's a myth. That's a fairy tale. That's a fraudulent story that destroyed America by a violent offender who failed to follow the rules and failed to follow the directions of lawful law enforcement. First off, what you leave out in the story in Donga is George Floyd. The reason he was in this situation is because he tried to pass counterfeit currency to purchase something in the store, and they called the police. The police arrived. He was sitting in his vehicle with another black man. The police came over and asked them to exit the vehicle because there's suspicious behavior. The other occupant exited the vehicle, and the police spoke to him and had no reason to detain him, so they released him. George Floyd was obstinate, refused to get out of the vehicle, obviously had been intoxicated or taking drugs of some sort, and a 32-minute altercation occurred in which he endangered the lives of police officers. Eventually, he was restrained and he was held in a chokehold that was taught to police officers in the police department by the police. And it was an authorized chokehold to protect officers and other lives. George Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose, not from police actions. The same thing, the nonsense of Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray died by his own actions as a black police man. He was not killed by the police. So get your facts right and don't believe the political narrative. This is the horse manure that happens when people get emotional about events. Tommy says, I saw you on Ronaldo's channel today. You two work well together. Hang on, where's that, Tommy? A real relaxed team has subscribed to his channel. Also, forward email to Magda to contact you. Okay, Tommy. I haven't heard from Magda yet. I'll check my email and see if she wrote to me. I do have her number, but last night, by the time I got around to it, was after 10, and I think it's kind of rude to write to people that late unless you know them well. So I didn't do that, and I forgot to do it today because I was busy making videos and interviewing Bantu Holomisa. So thank you for subscribing. Yes, I think that I told Ronaldo that tonight at dinner. I thought the two of us, our conversation in that chat was really awesome. And we do it Wednesdays with a Colonel, but it's over the internet. It's not the same as in person. I mean, we were sitting right next to each other last night, really riffing off each other, getting a good vibe. It was fantastic. It's really great. And I like it when Ronaldo and I sit next to each other in a chat because it's pretty cool. Because then you can see clearly that I'm much better looking than he is. We're in the same light. Broken wing. Go bald. Bald is sexy. Why would I go bald? Yeah, why would I go bald? This is all mine. Thick hair. All right. The RAND is held up okay since election. Seems like that's, Daniel, because a lot of people are just holding their fire, holding their power right now, waiting to see what the potential government will be. Wait till it's announced, then you'll see if anything happens. Joe doesn't want to go black on white. I have no idea what he's talking about. Yes, he was high on drugs. That's what I'm talking about. He was high on drugs and he died of fentanyl overdose. All the privileged people who get up 4, 5, 6 a.m. tomorrow have a grueling work week so they don't end up living a 350 month or going to bed this time of night. Okay. Rob says he was on Bill Maher and indicated he has been left all along, but the left has moved him toward the right. Yeah, actually, that's a true statement. Fetterman is a leftist wackadoodle, but he hasn't moved to the right. He's just claiming that. He's just not as crazy as his fellow leftists, and that's the difference. He looks like he's not. 300 likes, that's awesome. George Floyd's killer is in jail today, convicted of federal state murder, yet you peddle fake news here. No, Ndonga, just go look up the coroner's report. Because somebody's convicted in a court doesn't mean they're guilty. I mean, okay, don't get that's funny because I mean we hear this all the time from black activists. Black men are falsely imprisoned. Black men are falsely imprisoned. DNA evidence overturns convictions all the time. It does happen. People are falsely convicted. Juries don't get things right. I mean, O.J. Simpson was as guilty as sin. Guilty as sin. He obviously did it, but he got off. Donald Trump was just convicted of a non-existent crime. A non-existent crime. It doesn't exist. Yet he was found guilty because of hateful, spiteful people with political agendas. George Floyd died as a consequence of his actions. No one put those drugs in him. He did it himself. He ingested them, and that's what caused him to die. That's what the coroner's report states. That's pretty clear. That coroner's report was hidden from the jury, and the jury concluded falsely that the police officer was guilty in his death. We see this all the time. I would not want to be a law enforcement officer in America because if you don't let black criminals get away with everything, then you get crucified. So we have lawlessness in Philadelphia because black criminals damage and lord over neighborhoods, endangering the lives of black Philadelphians because the police are afraid to do something because they'll be found guilty even though they did nothing wrong. So, no, I'm not peddling any fake news. You just don't know the facts. The coroner's report is available online. Look it up. Check the facts. I have no idea what you're saying there, Joe. When will this come be announced? Zahid Kaji, we don't know, but the president will have to be nominated on Friday, so there's a good chance we'll know by Thursday night. Yep. Andy Ben says, why don't you mention cricket? I did mention cricket. We talked about cricket earlier. We've been on for an hour and a half. I talked about cricket. You must have missed it. The United States has done very well, and someone says South Africa is going to win 3 for 3. Levin says, didn't realize just how short Ronaldo is until I saw a potholing pics team photo. Yep. Yep. So, what else? Do you think Trump will go after the people that are always after him? He didn't do it last time. He didn't do it last time, and it was very disappointing because these people returned to government and have misused the judicial system and government bureaucracy to falsely attack American citizens. So, shame on Trump for not doing it last time. How trustworthy is Fox News? Not very, RPO. Not very trustworthy. None of those media outlets are very trustworthy. Listen, I mean, I lost my interest and trust in Fox News around 2015. So Fox News, which claimed to be fair and balanced, was in the tank for Donald Trump in 2016. They pimped for Donald Trump all the time. Not just their commentators like Sean Hannity, but also their news reporters were doing the same thing. And it was just disgraceful and shameful. No objectivity whatsoever. And Fox News in 2015 became what the leftists had always accused it of, a right-wing echo chamber. For the most part, there are still some good journalists there, like Shannon Bream, and a few others. Brett Barry used to be good, but I think he's kind of captured now too. Fox News is not objective if you want to hear the news. But I haven't watched Fox in ages because Fox News proved how biased they were in 2020 by betraying Donald Trump, whom they pushed so hard to get elected. They betrayed him because it suited their needs, and they weren't objective at all. So that's a problem. But they're all like that. MSNBC is ABC, CBS, all of them. They're all terrible. So, Floyd was a career criminal. Yep, exactly right. Megyn Kelly's a foxy, feisty blonde, but she's not at Fox News anymore. She left. Everyone, hey, M135I, welcome to the fall of Minneapolis. Yep. So I just see that Nolly says the Colonel gets his news from Fox News. No, I don't. I don't watch Fox News. You're just once again peddling lies, and Nolly. Just comical. It's comical how you just make shit up. What about Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson is a bit of a wackadoodle, but as I said in January of 2020, at the time, I said that Tucker Carlson is the best investigative journalist and his team on the planet, doing his best to inform people objectively about what's happening around the world. In the first week of January 2020 on Tucker Carlson show, when I was still watching Fox occasionally, I caught Tucker Carlson saying something is happening in a small town in China in which there's a disease breakout and people are dying left and right. The authorities have quarantined the city, but people have escaped from it. It's called Wuhan. And this is something that could very quickly affect the United States. Tucker Carlson, first week of January, before most people ever even heard of the Wuhan flu. Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is fantastic, but then he talks to a bunch of wackadoodles. I mean, his interview with Putin, what was the purpose of that? Putin sitting there trying to give us a history of Russia for an hour and a half. I didn't need that. But Tucker is a good journalist. He's really good, and lucky for him, he's famous. Yeah, so yeah. So that's my view of Tucker Carlson. I would watch a lot of what he does, but not all. But I haven't seen any Tucker Carlson in a few months. But he's a good journalist. Rob says, like a show. Hope you enjoy your trip. Take care and keep telling his. I'll keep trying that. I get all my news from Joe Rogan. I don't watch Joe Rogan. America is a lawless country. That's simply untrue, Muriel Hayes. That's untrue. It's not true. Not true. Nobody breaks in my home. Nobody steals my car. Nobody murders or assaults any of my family members. Nobody's robbed me. Nobody's defrauded me. I live in America. I know what you're talking about. People stop at traffic lights, robots. They obey them. Yeah. So I don't know what you're talking about. Lawless. Layla gets her news from me. Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro. I like Ben Shapiro, but I don't watch him very much. Usually I catch a clip of his, something put out there. Tucker is a patriot, says Muriel. Yeah, so he's never served. I'm a patriot. I defended freedom for 36 and a half years. Sacrificed much. Did a lot. So he's patriotic. Whether he's a patriot or not, I don't know. Patriot to me is someone who actually takes steps. But he is patriotic. I'll give him that. Yep. The Rubin Report. I tried watching that show, and it's okay, but it didn't do it for me. What else? I would bet my years that... Oh, no. I don't know what Joe's going on about there. But anyway, so the cabal runs all media America. Yeah, you can call it a cabal. I think that's a fair statement. It's a small group of elite corporate interests that have their agendas and are trying to make money. And they go for clicks, and they go for views, and they go for ratings and to get advertisers. That is all true. But it's not America. Look here in South Africa. Propaganda 24, Independent Line. Independent Line is just shameful in its leftist drivel. I mean, virtually every op-ed they put on Independent Line is some leftist garbage from some loser on the left. And it just perpetuates nonsense. Times Live is even guilty of this. The Daily Maverick, which once was pretty good reporting outlet, 1/3 of what it publishes is leftist drivel. The rest is either balanced or center. The Mail and Guardian is now, in my view, captured. Its reporting has gone so far downhill. It's just a shame. Look, if you're biased, be honest about it. I'm biased. Capitalism is the only effective system of economics. Genuine capitalism, not this crony capitalism that South Africa has, not this mercantilist capitalism that China has, not this pseudo-capitalism the United States has, but genuine capitalism. Supply and demand are a perfectly balanced pair, and they match each other quite well. And representative democracy, republic is the best form of government man has invented yet. Messy, but the best form. And that's my bias. I don't like leftists because they seek to oppress people and take liberty. And I fought for decades to protect liberty so people have the right to decide for themselves what happens in their lives and others' lives. So there you go. So that's my bias. There you go. I don't tolerate racists and bigots. I have no use for them. Unfortunately, we have a lot of trolls showing up tonight that fall into that category quite well, and I've given them a lot of rope to hang themselves. They're doing a good job. Muriel says depends on your country. I'm not sure what that response is to. Lots of things depend on your country, but the media are captured everywhere. Everywhere. China, Australia, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, South Africa, media are all captured. All have agendas. America is huge and very diverse in all respects, probably more, a lot more than South Africa. We don't have, and if you want to play ethnic groups, we have many more ethnic groups in South Africa because the Native Americans, there's dozens, if not several hundred Native American ethnicities. So that alone outdoes it. Zahid says, is there ever hope for South Africa or just downhill from here? There is hope, Zahid. There is hope. But I'm not going to blow smoke up your skirt and tell you that things are going to be rosy today. It's not. It's going to be bumpy. And the problem is this. I told people this all along. Even if the ANC is out of government, which isn't going to happen now, but even if the ANC is out of government, you still have a problem in South Africa. The damage, the carnage done to your infrastructure, to your education system, to your corporate system of governance, to your justice sector is so horrific by the ANC in the past 15 years, utterly destroying and eating South Africa from within. It will take years to restore what's been damaged, let alone maintain what needs to be maintained and improved. That's number one. Number two, the bureaucracy is stuffed full of cater hires, patronage hires. Many of these people aren't qualified for what they do. Some of them are functionally illiterate. The difference between the National Party and the ANC is not very great, but there are stark differences. So, for instance, the National Party favored one particular class of people, especially Afrikaans-speaking white folks. So the bureaucracy was stuffed full of Afrikaans-speaking white folks. But the difference between that bureaucracy and the current bureaucracy, which is full of ANC patronage hires, is that that bureaucracy under the National Party was competent and honest, whereas that is not the case with much of the bureaucracy that the ANC has installed. And those people, many of them owe their loyalty to Latuli House. So they will owe that loyalty, and some will undermine the government. Others will go slow and not do their job. Some will do their job. So you've got a real problem here. You've got a inept, decrepit bureaucracy with a collapsing society. And even if another government had a majority, say, I don't know, let's pick a party like Action SA, gotten 55%, it could govern on their own. It would take Action SA years to fix this country. So it's going to be a bumpy ride. For the rest of our natural lives, most of us currently watching this program are likely to see South Africa struggle. Now, it could turn around in a heartbeat, but you need someone like Donald Trump to clean the decks and get rid of the dead wood. Yep. Is Narendra Modi a good prime minister? He's not a prime minister. Didn't he resign? Russia's been persecuting the conservative church. Not as good as many had hoped he was. James has an early start. Okay, good. I like watching Ted Cruz on YouTube, giving the people hell in Parliament. I think he'll make a Yeah, Ted Cruz was my candidate in 2016. I wanted to vote for him. Joe says capitalism is the way. It is. Muriel says America's full of fake news. And so is South Africa, Muriel. And so is Germany. Why are you picking on America? We're not even talking about America. We're talking about South Africa. So what's your bent, your focus? Why are you so stuck on that? You'd be an awesome guest in the Room Report. Your insight on what's really going on in South Africa attract plenty of viewers. Another would be. I don't know what PBD is, but well, get me on the Room Report. Tell people about me. Tell them about me, folks. The problem with I don't know anything about the Room Report, but I can talk about some of these other conservative programs. A lot of these conservatives, like what's her name, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, that sort of crowd. They don't want anyone else in their orbit. They don't want someone else to do well and be famous and successful. They just don't like that, and they go out of their way to pimp each other. And that crowd, that small crowd, which includes Ben Shapiro on the side of it. We're talking about the Crowders and all of that crowd. So, yeah, no, I love going there. I've been on John B. Wells' program multiple times, which isn't known here, but it's big in the States. I go on the Sentinel Report with Alex Newman. Alex Newman is a fantastic journalist. He spent time living in South Africa. He's a devout Christian, and he's brilliant. He is one of the best authorities on the corruption in state education, or lack thereof. So he's a brilliant guy, and I've been on his program. I've been on many programs, but on the Gareth Cliff Show, I appear regularly here in South Africa. Well, periodically, not regularly, and I may be on this week, so we'll see. Steve Turley is quite good. Yeah, Steve Turley actually gave me a thumbs up one time for one of my videos I did about Kathy Barnes, a candidate for Senate in Pennsylvania, and they lied about her, and they made up fairy tales. That was all done by Rick Grinnell. That was Donald Trump's former acting director of national intelligence, former ambassador to Berlin, the senior most openly gay official until Pete Buttigieg that went in there. But Rick Grinnell did a hatchet job on Kathy Barnett to get rid of her so that Dr. Oz could win the race over McCormick and Kathy Barnett. But Kathy Barnett, they lied about her military service, and I broke it down, showed the documents, pointed out all the stuff and the facts about how they were misleading voters. Steve Turley saw that and promoted it, and that video did pretty well, so thank you, Steve Turley. But he's never asked me to come on his program. Ali Samunga says the problem is that no government is, in fact, in charge of South Africa. Actually, South Africa is being controlled by the markets that decide the exchange rate. Yeah, that's. I appreciate where you're coming from, Ali, but that's you can take that argument anywhere, but that's not actually how it is. Government decides policy, and policy affects the exchange rate. Government decides programs that affect the markets, so it is the other way around. Looks like race relations gone backward 50 years in America, says Edward DeSantis. Yeah, that's what it looks like if you read the press, but I mean, that's simply not true in America. That's also not how it is in South Africa. If you talk to South Africans on a daily basis, that's not really how it is for many South Africans, but it's certainly not how it is for most Americans. That's the media and that's politicians. Most Americans get along perfectly fine with their neighbors, black, white, or brown, and that's a fact. That's a fact. I had black folks who worked in my campaign who voted for me, and I live in an area that's 94% white, yet black folks came to my standard. So, and I get along fine with black folks. So that's just another media generated and political generated bunch of nonsense. If you're talking about Black Lives Matter, it's a fringe movement of criminals who have been exposed, and the movements are not nearly as big as people make them out to be. We have a lot of people like to join demonstrations, kind of like UCT and fees must fall. Fees must fall. Fees must fall. It's nonsense. Llewellyn now says, greetings. Appreciate your voice. Thank you, Llewellyn. Appreciate being here. Nobody runs the world. Nobody gets zero to-do lists. The world runs itself. It's self-created. I think the ANC is working with plan to reel in smaller parties to strengthen the 51% rule. Well, I mean, the ANC could go into government with the ANC, EFF, and the Patriotic Alliance. That's a scary thought, 51%. Yep. All right, so there you go. So, yeah, once again, the breaking news tonight is that the vice president of Malawi and 9 others missing in a military aircraft, and no one knows where it's at. Presumably it's crashed. Yep. So, President and Speaker to be elected on Friday the 14th, according to Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Yep. Now, axed MK leader Jabulani Kamala said the party's members will be sworn in on the 14th in a statement. Kamala said the communication sent by MK party to Parliament the party's members will not be attending is misguided in law and frankly embarrassing. Should any MK member of Parliament not avail themselves for understandable fear of victimization by Jacob Zuma and his clique, will not in itself be the basis for Parliament not to continue with the business of swearing in members of Parliament and continue with his scheduled business on the date chosen by the Chief Justice, according to Jabulani Kamala, and he's right. He added that Zuma was abusing their democratic process, the people's will, and he is. According to Kamala, Zuma undermined Parliament, the courts, and the Chief Justice, and he has. I confirm that I, on behalf of MK, accept the results as pronounced by the Independent Electoral Commission, and no amount of staple conspiracy theories by Mr. Zuma will collapse this nation. So Jabulani Kamala, well said. All right, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has announced the next President of South African Speaker of the National Assembly will be elected at 10 a.m. on Friday. And we'll be watching. I'll probably do a live stream 10 a.m. on Friday, unless I have an appointment with Gareth Cliff or someone else. The National Assembly will sit in the Cape Town International Convention Center, as I said, it was probably, and here it is. Now I've got it confirmed, for 400 members of Parliament. The Constitution provides the President must be elected not more than 14 days after the results have been declared, and members of the National Council of Provinces will be sworn in on Saturday, June 15th. There you go. So, see, a coalition between the ANC, the DA, and the MPC is the most preferred, according to Brent House Foundation. A coalition between the ANC, the DA, and the multi-party charter parties has most support among South Africans, according to a survey by the Brent House Foundation. And that's one of the grand coalitions that I came up with. And I talked about in my analysis over 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago now, I did that. All right, there you go. That's what I suggested should happen, and that's what should be done. So we'll see. But none of these are great solutions for South Africa. Some are just less worse than others. All right, well, we went over 16,500, picked up a number of subscribers during this stream. That's very awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Some of them were trolls who will unsubscribe after the stream, so that's a shame. Are you going to see Ronaldo become an MP? No, Freelance Kane, I'm not, because it was supposed to be on the 17th, but Jabulani Kumalo let the beans spill and told the public, and then Chief Justice Raymond Zondo confirmed that, in fact, the swearing in is on Friday. It was supposed to be on Monday, which didn't make sense. It's apparently a public holiday, so we thought it'd be on Tuesday, but now it's on Friday. On Friday, I will be in Northcliffe, so I can't make it. And you're probably saying, well, just go to Cape Town. Well, if I wasn't supposed to be in Pretoria the next day, then I would. It just becomes too difficult logistically. Now, if I was rich and had my own plane, I'd just fly down and fly back, done and dusted, not a problem. But I'm not a diamond merchant or a BE caterer, so I don't have my own plane at my disposal, so I have to fly on commercial. And there you go. So I will not see Ronaldo become a member. I'll watch it on TV like the rest of you. I hope, bar all the crap that's happening in our country, that you're still enjoying your stay. Cape Town guy, I usually enjoy my time in South Africa. The people are absolutely amazing, the Donga notwithstanding. But no, the people are fantastic. It's amazing. It's a wonderful country, a lovely place to visit, amazing natural landscape, amazing people. But there are some toads and some turds, so we make the best of it. But yeah, no, I've the last trip I did a little bit for myself. This time I have done nothing other than going to the Stormers and Bulls games for myself. The Stormers game was pure enjoyment. I just went there, enjoyed myself. The Bulls game, I was working as a journalist, so I enjoyed it, but it was also work. So yeah, I've done nothing. I've not done any zip lining. I've not relaxed. I thought about taking a movie this evening, or this afternoon, but I didn't do that. I was kind of tired and got a little bit of rest. So um, yeah, but I'm enjoying South Africa. The U.S. has two major parties. We had 170. This may be a recipe. Who knows what? Uh, okay, what else you got here? China's an exception, but they've changed radically. What is RPO talking about? Everybody's talking about here. Did RPO say something that got people's attention here? I didn't read what RPO said. So he says, so how does Botswana maintain such a stable economy, seeing they have less infrastructure, less foreign investment, landlocked? Zahid, good question. I can tell you exactly about Botswana. I've lived there. I was also an analyst that covered it, and I have a long relationship with Botswana going back to 1989, when the president of Botswana spoke at my commencement at Ohio University. Yeah, the Ohio University and Botswana were supposed to come up with a branch campus in Botswana. It never materialized, but anyway, so he spoke there. So Botswana does this because they have had until Eric Masisi, until him, they've had a succession of brilliant and largely honest leaders who were focused on the country and the people, not on self-enrichment now or self-aggrandizement. We have a president in Botswana now who seems very much focused on self-aggrandizement, attacking his predecessor, who's the reason he's actually in office. So they've managed their wealth very well, and they have. That doesn't mean there hasn't been corruption. There is corruption in Botswana, even though it does well on the Transparency International Index of corrupt states. It typically does well, but Botswana has managed its wealth very well. They also have long-term planning. Unlike most African countries, they actually have plans. Now, the ANC comes out with plans, but they never follow them. But the BDF, not the BDF, the BDP, excuse me, the Botswana Democratic Party, actually follows through on these plans. They have 5-year development plans, kind of like the Soviet stuff, but these actually work. And they've done very well. They have lots of infrastructure. So I think what you're saying, there's a misnomer. There's plenty of infrastructure in Botswana, but it was a country that in 1966 had no infrastructure. The capital of Gaborone had just 5,000 residents. Today it's probably 400,000. And they had, I think, 15 miles, 23 kilometers of paved surface road in the entire country in 1966. And you can drive all over the country today. Paved roads, they're well maintained most of the time. Well, they've been falling in disrepair under this government currently. Ever since Kama left government as president, South Africa has gone sideways and downwards. And then the fascist behavior of the government during the lockdown made things even worse. And it's just a tragedy. Botswana is not well managed anymore. It once upon a time was. Corruption has become a major factor in Botswana, a major concern. And infrastructure is in poor shape in many places. This is all a consequence of poor leadership under Mokgweetsi Eric Masisi. So, did I answer? Have you seen the Brenhurst survey asking the voters which coalition they would want? No, I haven't seen it. I have to look it up. That was what I was just referencing. Okay. All right. No point entertaining. Muriel Haynes says, so you're still in South Africa? Yes, I'm in South Africa. As I said at the beginning of this broadcast and several times throughout it, I am in Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay, Gamera. Yep. All right, so there you go. All right, cool. All right, folks, we are rapidly approaching 2 hours. Any final questions for this stream tonight? And thank you all for tuning in. I'm loving the fact that people have shown up tonight. It's pretty awesome. Very sad news there about Malawi. Hopefully we'll get an answer on this sometime soon. I think we'll have a trouble for Friday. But this whole thing with MK is a problem. It really is. It really is a problem. It needs some adults to step in the room. Maybe Jabulani Kumalo is the adult, or maybe just behaving that way because it's in his best interest. Yep. So I'm looking to see if there's an update on the aircraft. No, there's no update on it. Yeah, so this was interesting from the MK party, this ridiculous statement with no evidence to explain what they're talking about. Yep. All right, so U.S. troops are leaving Niger, as we agreed to, and this is another failure of the Biden regime. AfriForum has brought an urgent application regarding municipal electricity tariff hikes. And a BRICS currency launch date has been revealed. Please, the BRICS currency. This is one of those fake news sites. The targeted launch for BRICS common currency revealed, according to BRICS representative. The bloc is working to have BRICS currency ready in the next 3 to 4 years by 2027. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Over last year, the BRICS alliance doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a BRICS alliance. Has been working to develop its native currency, but hasn't set a release date. The idea has gained more steam over the past month as more countries seek to ditch the dollar and trade. Both Russia and Iran confirmed collaboration on a BRICS currency project in May. China is actively working on a CBDC that will aid in the de-dollarization efforts, which is gaining traction as well. Latest stories will make India's BRICS Institute director bullish that the ongoing developments are going well. They're not. This is just fantasy. This is self-loathing. Anyway, so Civil rights group Forum has filed an urgent application to the High Court against the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, seeking to stop NERSA from considering municipality applications for electricity tariffs increases scheduled for July 1st. Yep, so Morne Mostert, manager of the local government affairs at AfriForum, emphasized the importance of cost studies in determining tariff increases. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the problem with this is that many of the services you get in South Africa are way cheaper than they should be. You're getting over, but they're not profitable, and this is why they have to keep raising rates. So, Mkhonto Sizwe party had the following to say about the Democratic Alliance. The DA has already isolated itself by being arrogant and ignoring the will of the people and the majority who voted for MK in KwaZulu-Natal. How? How are they ignoring the will of the people? They're a 14% party in KZN. How are they ignoring the will of the people? Explain. Progressive black forces are willing to put the country in the vision of the majority of our people first and will come together to do that, says MK leader Muzi Nshaligila. How and why? He said the party stance on not accepting ANC leader Ramaphosa as part of any new formation still stands, but insists that it's continuing talks with ANC leaders, not just Ramaphosa. Wow. So the MK is just making waves, but utter nonsense here. Utter nonsense. So just nonsense. Bangladesh restricts South Africa to 113-6. Okay, so what happened there? The fat cat politicians sitting in the top 1% of earners in South Africa. Now, Business Tech runs that story. I want to see that one. Let me see. So, here we go. South Africa's ordinary MPs are not quite top 1%ers when it comes to salary, but they're getting closer. Ministers and deputies are definitely among the elite. Going on monthly earnings, previous data compiled by Knight Frank showed that a 1% earner in South Africa is anyone grossing over $109,000 a year, or just 2 million rand. This equates to 160,000 rand per month. This aligns closely with updated data from the World Inequality Database, which puts the entry level of the top 1% of earners in South Africa at around 151,000 per month. So, President Ramaphosa last week gazetted a 2.5% salary increase for members of parliament, ministers, and deputies. South Africa's cabinet ministers have long been some of the highest paid people in the country and gain a multitude of tax-free perks and benefits footed by taxpayers on top of their 2.7 million salaries. According to Corné Mulder, Freedom Front Plus, MP and a chief whip, and one of my guests frequently, whose salary has been hiked to 1.4 million. Not all politicians are millionaires. Speaking on 7 to 2, he said that 1.3 million salary sounds like a lot, but after deductions like medical aid, pensions, taxes, it's not a huge amount. He says most MPs are left with just over 50,000 after deductions, considering the latest rate hikes. Still, there's some big names here. So the deputy president makes 3,164,000 rand, or 263,000 rand per month. A minister makes 2,600 rand and 2.6 million rand, and a deputy minister makes 2.2 million rand. So there's a poll here on Business Tech. Says, which coalition would you choose? ANC-MK, which will give you 217 seats, ANC-DA, 246 seats, ANC-EFF, 198 plus smaller parties, or the ANC Grand Coalition of 159 seats plus smaller parties? Well, that doesn't really tell you the answer, so I would say, I guess I'd go with that Grand Coalition. Let's see what they come up with. Probably going to be ANC-DA is the biggest one. Oh, I already voted for this, they said. Anyway, the salaries of members of parliament are quite exorbitant compared to most South Africans. So there's the reality there. Anyway, folks, yes, the DA and ANC were in a secret meeting. I've talked about that already. South Africa won by 4 runs. Thank you for that. A lot. Chantel Boyce says, a lot of opinions and response tonight. We sure enjoyed yourself tonight. Thank you, Colonel Chris. You're very welcome. All right, Jackie Smith says, enjoy the stream. Thank you, Colonel. Have a good rest. Thanks for working the potholes. My pleasure. I got to make the video on that, so I might not go to bed yet. But it's 10:30. It's time for me to rack out. 202 people still here. A little bit of super chat money came in. 336 likes. If you haven't hit the like button, folks, please hit the like button before you run off for the night. I do put all my energy and effort into trying to bring you this stuff. So thanks for being here, and we do appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll see how many trolls unsubscribe after the stream. Have a good night. God bless everybody. Tomorrow, I'm still in Peeve during the day. We're doing a live stream with Byron Shepard from Morning Shot and Retardistan. We'll be doing that stream, and then I'll have lunch with Ronaldo, and it's off to Durban. I'll be landing at 5:30 if things go well, and then quickly down to the Suncoast Casino, where we'll have at Tiger's Milk. I haven't made a reservation there, so I'm going to have to make a reservation at Tiger's Milk. And then after that, I'll be on The Conscious Careful tomorrow at 8 p.m. Whew, it's a long day. Whew. And then Thursday after drive to Howick. Or Wednesday after drive to Howick. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Appreciate it. God bless. Be safe out there. Be sure to hit that like button.